Welcome, Wapham crew, new listeners, friends, fiends, ghosts, goblins, whatever may be out there this evening listening to the show tonight. Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a rocky mountain high, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. It is Saturday, November 12th, Sunday, November 13th for those of you across the pond and beyond. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, and welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. We are broadcasting live from the Mile High Clubhouse tonight. I hope you guys are nice, cuddly, cozy, and warm. I hope you have your favorite beverage, or perhaps you're roasting some s'mores, or just sitting by the fire looking at mankind's original TV. I love staring at the fire. It's very, very hypnotic, transitory. Some people would say meditative. There's so many things you can see in there, and it's just like, I don't know, very hypnotizing. It's amazing. Well, I hope you guys had an awesome weekend so far. Today is my eldest daughter's birthday. I gave birth to her when I was 20 years old, and 2 weeks later I turned 21. And oh my goodness, she is such a beautiful soul. She is making me so proud. She's such a beautiful spirit, woman, and now mother of a almost 10-month-old baby. They just purchased their first home. We've been working really hard on getting that together, but yeah, anytime her birthday comes around, it reminds me of my mortality as far as when her birthday happens, 2 weeks later, my birthday happens. I was 20 when I had her. I turned 21 2 weeks later. So, there wasn't no party time for me. I was busy taking care of her and breastfeeding and whatnot, but oh goodness, Mike is trying to call in. Hold on. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Oh, it's not showing up. Let me try to call him back. Hey, Mike, give me 1 second. Okay. So, anywho's, yes, it really lets me get a mind's eye of my whole mortality. And she really saved my life. It was just me and her against the world for 2 years, and she's an amazing blessing, and I love her, and she's such a beautiful spirit. So if you're listening to us live right now, you may be listening to us on Spreaker under We Are Paradox Media. You may also be listening to us at KPNL Radio, which you can find on KPNL Radio at kpnl.db.com. We are also live on Saturday nights on eTalk Radio, which you can find on etalk.tv/radio. If you want to listen to us in your free time, whether you're working it, or working out, listen to us once more under We Are Paradox Media at Spreaker, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Castbox, Tumblr, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podcast Chaser, Podvine, still working on that Amazon. If you got some time in your life and you really prefer YouTube, um, as opposed to anything else, look us up once more under We Are Paradox Media. Please subscribe, like any video that you've listened to, and leave us any comments, whether it's positive, negative, future guests that you'd like to see on the show. Just let us know what your thoughts are. So tonight I have a treat for all my guys and gals out there. Tonight we will be talking to, and it might be for just a short circumstance, but we'll be talking to Mike Cardenas, and he is from Midnight Paranormal Society. So Mike, is the founder of Midnight Paranormal Society. He began MPS in hopes of finding like minded individuals that together can better understand the paranormal as well as discover ways to better help their clients. MPS was founded in 2008 due to the paranormal activity that his mom had experienced back in 1989. They had a family friend come over and play the Ouija board without their knowledge, and from that day going forward, his mom and he were plagued by something unknown. No one was willing to help them during this time, despite their desperate need for it. In fact, they were told that they were crazy and that it was all in their heads. Now that he's an adult and has his own team, he will, without a doubt, do his very best to provide peace of mind to all of those who are being plagued, just like he once was. And that's a very common occurrence. Like even churches won't help people when you would think you can go to a church, they'll help you. A lot of times they won't. People saying you're crazy. That's why I started my group. Like people need help and I don't charge for that either. But unfortunately, I think Mike is only going to be here for a short time, but I'm blessed for the time that he will be here. Mike, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you are here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, you guys are actually there right now trying to help somebody going through this.
Yeah, we were my sister who's my co-founder had reached out to me and told me that someone a family friend of ours was experiencing some stuff in their new home, and so she was like, before we do a cleansing, do you want to come investigate and see what we can, what kind of evidence we can collect? And I said, yeah, let's do it. So right now we're outside waiting for some more members to show up, and that way we can go inside and investigate.
Awesome. I just want to thank you for doing what you guys do and helping people because there's not a lot of help out there. That's why I don't charge for my services because I feel like
Right.
I'd be taken advantage.
Right, right. Yeah, no, it's an unfortunate thing. It's some for the most part, I've met people who I had a client one time who told me, and again, it's not to put him under the bus or anything, but they told me that this one team told him, if you want us to cleanse your house, it's $500, and I was like, wait a second.
Oh.
I was like, it's not a guarantee that it's gonna go away with just that one cleansing,
Mhm.
and it's just. So for us, because I went through it, and I'm sure so many more other people have gone through, I'm sure even worse. We just don't do it. We do this because we want to learn more about the paranormal, how it works, why things happen, and of course, be able to provide answers along the way and give people peace of mind. Because that's what they really want, peace of mind.
Exactly. Like, I think the key to life is finding happiness or peace within yourself. But when
Right,
this sort of stuff is happening, it's like, what do you do? Like, there is no manual for this.
right.
So,
Yeah, that's very
have
true.
you always lived in San Antonio?
Yeah, my whole life. Yeah, that's where I'm born and raised in San Antonio, Texas. That's correct.
Awesome. So, can you tell us a little bit about your paranormal background as far as what happened to you and your family? Are you willing to talk about that?
Yeah, of course. Um, just make a long story short, because I know I only have so much time, and we can share more later on. So like you mentioned, a family friend played the Ouija board in our home, in our apartment that we were living at here in San Antonio. The apartments that we were living at, I call them like this cookie cutter apartments, where they're all kind of the same layout.
Yeah, it's
Um,
hard to tell unless
and
you have numbers.
right, right. And so our neighbor, who was a longtime friend of my mom, said, "Hey, can we celebrate her son's birthday party in our apartment?" And my mom, she didn't say, well, why? We had the same exact layout. Why she's doing her own apartment? But really low key, what they're really asking was, can my mom cook? Because my mom always, people always come to her because she's, the one, the friend or the family member who cooks for the birthday parties or for the get-togethers, and so they wanted her to help cook the food. And so they came over. The birthday boy showed up, and he has since then he's passed away as an adult. But at the time he was a teenager, and I was a young boy.
Aww.
Yeah, we were there, and everyone's having a good time. My mom's in the kitchen cooking away. Everyone's having a good time, and the birthday boy walks in. I see this thing under his arm, like he's walking with this just this box or something,
Oh my
and
goodness.
he's talking with one of his then childhood friends, and they're talking about this thing, and I hear him over here him say the Ouija board, and I had no idea what the heck that was. You know, I was a small kid, I was oblivious, I didn't know, and
Yeah.
so they played it. My mom didn't know. I had to use the restroom. The restroom was on the second floor of the apartment, so I went to the stairs, started walk. Well, when I was about to walk up, I had to turn the light switch on so I can see. When I got to the midway point before it came to the next part of the stairs, the light turned off above me. I looked down, thinking someone turned the light off, and no, the light switch was still up. And so I continue up the stairs. When you get up the stairs, my room is to the left. My mom's room was to the right. When I looked to the left, I was given as a child this like old vintage or antique. I don't know, not antique, but vintage like old school desk. It's like a
Uh-huh.
desk chair combo where they're stuck to each other. They're connected.
Yeah,
And
some of them
as a
open
child,
up, some of them just have the storage space below.
right, exactly. But I had the one the storage space below. Well, I was a heavy kid. I was chubby, and I just couldn't fit in it. It was meant for like a small,
Aw,
petite
that's because
child.
your mom had good cooking.
Right, yeah. Thanks, mom. Nah. And so I never use a desk. And so I see this full grown man sitting in the desk, and I'm like, wait a second, like all I kept thinking is why can he fit but not me? And
Right?
so he's sitting there, he has his fist under his chin, like he's just kinda like gazing out the window to my room. And I didn't want to make a noise for him to hear me. So I walk to the restroom, do my thing, come back out. I'm headed to the stairs. My room is now to the right. I took a step to the stairs, and it made like a creaking sound. I turn to look, to the right real quick, and he turns the man, and he like again not looks at me per se, like he's looking at me like, hey, there's Mike, but it's like if he overheard something. He's kind of like listening out. And then he turns back around, puts his fist under his chin, and continues looking out my window. So then I walk down the stairs, and as I'm walking down the stairs, my mom is letting everybody out, and she's just dropping F bombs and get the beep out of here, and
Does your mom
because
generally do that, or was that out of character?
just that's just who she is. She's like one of
Nice.
those she's just very outspoken. Like she's not afraid to hold back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She just says it how it is, and she's like, y'all get the F out of here. Take that game with you. That's dangerous. Me playing that in my house and ran everybody off. And so my mom was just upset about it. And I said, Mom, your friend's upstairs. She says, a friend? I said, the man. Says, what man? And she went to
Oh
you
my
know,
goodness.
mama bear mode, like I gotta protect my cub, like she just
Yeah.
she like flew up the stairs and I went with her and mind the light was off the whole time. And so we go up the stairs, we get to that landing area, boom, the light cuts on. We both stop, we look down, there's nobody there. And this time, well, I mean, the light switch is still on, like the switch, but the lights were off. And the light cuts on, and we look down and look up, and we just kept going. And when we look to the left, to my room, there's nobody there. So she was like, there's nobody here. So she clears the whole top floor. She said, there's nothing here. You might have been just imagining this kind of thing. And so without knowing, that was like my first experience with this apparition or this whoever this was. And you know, the crazy thing is a lot of times when people contact us now, fast forward to now, having my team and us investigating, we had cases where, let's say it's like a residual thing, or let's say even if, whatever's happening, it's like, it's always the same kind of pattern, never different, or it's always one thing that occurs. And so with me as a child, it was something new every single night. There was only one occurrence that happened that was always happening, different parts of the apartment, but always the same spirit or the entity or whatever it was that was there. It was always the same thing, but just in different areas of the house, of the apartment.
Mhm.
But we always were experiencing something. And it got to the point where my mom was like, what do we do? Who do we call? There was no, hey, call Ghostbusters or, call this person. We didn't have
Mm-hmm.
anybody to go to. So my mom went to my grandmother, and my grandmother told her, you're crazy, and, you know, stop talking about that kind of stuff. And then my mom went to the church, and a Catholic church that we live by, and the priest, the father, he was like, sorry, but we don't help with that. What we can offer you is
My gosh.
here's some scriptures, here's some holy water, you know, step one through whatever, follow these steps,
Mm-hmm.
and good luck with yourself.
Oh my
And
gosh.
yeah, and it was just one of those things where it's like my mom had no idea what she was doing, and so she kind of went with her instinct, and her thought was, come up. When I was a kid, my mom would always say, when the house is a mess, the devil thrives in the mess. Like, just a
Yes,
filthy
in
mess.
the clutter, because things can hide in there.
Right, right. And so her thought was, well, maybe if I clean the house or the apartment, if I clean it and start mopping and sweeping, I'll see these scriptures while I'm mopping and sweeping, and it'll go away. And so I remember being downstairs, and there's more that happened between, but I'm just jumping to the one of the bigger parts. Um, she goes to she was like, stay here in the sofa. I'm gonna go upstairs and I'm going to do what I can. So she goes to my room because where a lot of it's happening, and I could hear her like she gets up, the bucket of water for the mop, and she's up there, and you could hear her saying the scriptures or whatever she's reading, and then she could hear her start mopping the floors. Like she pours some of the holy water into the mop water, trying to mop and do her
Mm-hmm.
thing, and all of a sudden, as I'm sitting there, the sound of like loud wind, like if a storm came through, and like you can see, like you just hear like only from the second floor, you can hear like this wind blowing, and my mom, like, I heard, and of course I'm sure she heard because she was right when it happened. We heard the sound like a dog growling, and I just hear my mom do, like I hear these footsteps like someone's running, and then I see my mom literally jump down from like midway the stairs. She jumped all the way to the bottom, and she like fell, got up, grabbed me, and then she booked it, man. She ran with me outside, and she was in tears, and she's like, oh, stuttering and freaking out, and trying to like, I guess, digest whatever she saw. And she said, we're not gonna go back in there, but we didn't have nowhere else to go. So my mom was like, we got to go back in there eventually. So we did, and it got to a point where my great grandfather, he was dying of cirrhosis of the liver,
Mm-hmm.
and he was already in his like last days, and it got to a point where he was already going to the hospital. Like he was going any moment, and so my 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 mom's aunt, my tia, she called and they said, hey, can you come over to the house while we watch the house while we go take care of him in the hospital. And so we went to her house, and we were visiting, and one of our neighbors before we left, this couple, they were from Mexico, but of course they lived here in the U.S. And we entrusted them with our copy of our key to our apartment, and we said, every now and then, before you go to bed, can you just go check up on the apartment, just make sure that no one's there,
Right.
everything's cool. He said, sure. Um, and so what ended up happening was they went to go check, I guess, to see how the apartment was, and all of a sudden, they, I guess, the husband and the wife, the couple, they heard what sounded like a party going on in our apartment. Like there was loud music, and you know how you walk into like a restaurant or a bar or something, you just hear all the voices, but it's not like
And no
clear. You just hear,
reason.
what I mean. But you can hear people talking, just like lots of people talking, but not clear words. And they
Yeah.
heard that, and they had to hear people laughing and talking, like full conversation. They're like, "Oh, they're back already." And then they're like, "But wait a second." And so they went back home just to double check. They called us to see if maybe, they wanted to just make sure we did it was us. So they call to my aunt's house. My mom, of course, answers, and that's when they're talking to her about it. And they're, yeah, we went over there right now. There's a party going on in your apartment. Mom's like, what? Go in there, and you call the cops if you have to. And so he goes back with his wife, and mind you, as they're walking up to the apartment, the lights are on. They can hear the loud music blasting. They can hear like just loud conversation. So she's kind of at the distance watching, like from the like the sidewalk to the apartment. He was at the front door, and when he put the key into the keyhole, the lights shut off from the apartment. And she's like, "Damn, the lights turned off." So he opened the door. He ran in there, cut the lights on. There was nobody in there. There was nobody. It was
Not even a
completely
sign
empty.
that somebody was there.
Nothing. And he got so scared. He ran out. He ran out of the apartment. He ran out. He was like, "What the heck is It, it's not my imagination. We if it had been him by himself, maybe he would question, like maybe he's just sleepy or something's going on, and maybe it's a trick of his whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But he was like, I didn't imagine this. His wife was there watching from the distance, and so they told him, they called, go back, call my mom. My mom's like, I'm gonna be there tomorrow, and then shortly after we hang up, we found out my great grandfather passed away. And
Oh.
so the next day we go back home, and in the evening, and right as we're getting there, we can see the couple that had our key. They are uh, by our apartment, and they see us, and they're like, "Come over here now! Come here! Come here!" My mom grabs me by the hand. We run towards them, and where we're at, you can hear the loud music just thumping, boom, boom, like
Is it
rock
like
music. But
mariachi music or it's more rock and
no,
roll or what?
it's like rock and roll music,
Oh,
like
wow.
jamming, and you can hear that muffled sound, but you can you can hear the loud conversation. And my mom's like, F this. She gets the key, she runs to the door, and like I'm standing next to this couple from the distance, and she puts the key into the keyhole. Right when she's turning it, the lights shut off, and she
Again.
runs in, and there's nobody there, and she's like, I'm tired of this shit. Get the F out of my apartment. I'm tired. This is enough. Like you need to leave. Whatever you are, you need to leave. And so whatever this Ouija board that he played, I mean, it just opened something in our apartment. But here's the thing. So my mom went to the management office. You know how every apartment has like that office you can go to and
Mm-hmm.
talk to the whoever runs the apartments. And she says, "Hey, I need to talk to you guys. Something's been happening in our apartment. We have questions, but we need to ask, whatever." And they said, "What are your questions?" She's like, "My son saw a man in his room." And the lady looked at me. She looked at my mom, and she's like, "What do you mean?" Like, he saw somebody, and then the man wasn't there anymore. And the lady had like this like shocked look on her face, and she says, "I need to share something with you, but just between us." And she's like, "What's that?" She's like, "A man committed suicide in that room."
Are you
And
serious?
yeah, and my mom's like, "What?" And she said his name, how he looked, described everything, and that's exactly how the guy looked when I saw. But the thing is, that man that we saw versus the other stuff it was separate from like his spirit was already there, like stuck there in that apartment, but everything else was from the Ouija board, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom just got tired of just dealing with everything because it was a constant thing, nonstop. So we reached a point where she was like, you know what, we're out of here, we're leaving, and we moved. We moved from that area. I mean, there's so much more that happened in between before we left, and even
Yeah.
after we left, there's so much more. But as far as that story, that's all I'll share for now. But it was just, but that's what first led me to why I do what I do now.
Yeah.
That's the reason.
Yeah. And at first, like when you were telling me the story, I'm thinking, okay, it's got to be connected to that desk. But no, it's a guy that actually killed himself. Oh my
Right.
goodness. And was your mom a single mom taking care of you kids?
Yes, yes, she was.
Oh, what a
And
she's an amazing woman. What a good girl. So proud of
yeah,
her.
and there was something that happened. 'Cause again, there's so much I didn't share. Like my mom and I meeting somebody, and my stepfather came along, and some other stuff happened that was really, really terrifying. But I'll share that another time.
Yeah, I'm hoping like we'll get a rain check on this because I know you
For
have to
sure,
go to
there's so much more
investigation later.
there's so much more to say, but I just don't want to, I'll leave everyone a cliffhanger, and then when we do it again,
Yeah,
I'll definitely share. I'll share more.
heck yeah. Oh my goodness. So you guys moved. Did anything follow you, or was everything kind of peaceful for a little bit and then things kicked up again, or
No,
what happened?
no. Well, when we moved from the apartment, we ended up moving, like, I want to say, like, I mean, we moved about maybe 25 minutes down the road. It was another complete neighborhood, and it was
Mm-hmm.
another apartment complex, and we moved there, and one of the things that occurred was we were there for maybe like about a week or two, and my sister, who's my co-founder of my team, Jeanette, she comes to me and says, "Mikey, I need to tell you something." And I'm like, "What's that?" And she says, "My dad keeps coming to visit me, and her father, he was killed as a young man. He got killed way too early. He used to be in a gang, and then he changed his life, for the better for my sister and for himself, of course. He left that life, and then someone
Still came after
they
him.
well they came after somebody with the same name as him, but it
Oh
wasn't
my
him. It was supposed to be
gosh.
somebody else, and they killed the wrong person.
I'm
And so of course
sorry.
he left. But yeah, I know. And so she's like, he keeps coming to see me, and I'm scared because he keeps telling me to go with him. And
Oh, well, maybe he's
okay,
trying to show her something. Like, don't come with
who
me,
knows?
like, to the other side, but come with me and I'll show you something. Like, maybe there's something he wants to show her
Right,
because, like, I lost my mom when I was 5, almost 6. I've almost only seen her, like, twice since then. My
right,
dad, I've only seen twice, and that was about 18 years ago. But it's like when they
right,
come, it's because they need to tell you something or show you something. So maybe she
right,
needs to like put that aside and not, it doesn't mean you need to die and come with me. Maybe it means he has a message for her.
right. But it was such a different time because I mean she was a little kid. She had no idea what he's doing or
Right.
what he
Yeah,
was.
it is. That's pretty
And so
scary.
I was like, what? Let's try doing something. And she's like, what? I was like, let's switch rooms for the night. She's like,
Ooh.
why? I said, let me. I'm gonna go to bed in your room. And I'm gonna completely cover my head, cover everything, and I'm gonna act like I'm you under the blankets. And let's see if he comes to visit. And if he wakes me up, I'm gonna look, and if I see him, then that'll validate what you've been experiencing.
And how old were you at this point?
I mean, I can't remember how old I was. I was like in the fourth or fifth grade. I mean,
Yeah, you're pretty young and you're so
yeah, I was.
smart.
Yeah, and so we tried it out. I still went to my room for the night. I was in hers. I covered myself completely, and I was asleep, and I totally forgot about this whole experiment, and I fell asleep, and when you just like, I just kept tossing and turning like something, like I just couldn't sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, I had this feeling just to move the blanket. When I moved it, boom, there he is, kind of like leaning over, looking at me. I try to yell. I was so scared, like, oh, like like when the babies hold their
Yeah.
breath and they
You
start
can
to
hear
cry
it
and
in your
scream.
head, but it's not coming out like it's supposed to.
Yeah, and I look at him and he looks at me and I was like, oh, and then like he was just gone, boom. And I was like, holy cow, like she was right. Like not that I didn't believe her, but
Was it her
he
dad or
really
was it something
you
else
know
trying
it,
to be
it
her
was no,
dad?
it was her father. It was her
Okay.
dad. I mean, that I know it was him. It looked like him. That's all I can say. Because I mean, I didn't say, hey man, is it really you? Like
But he's
I
like,
saw
"Oh,
him. I
you ain't my
recognized
daughter.
him.
I'm out."
Yeah, and it was weird because his face that he made, it was almost like, oh, like sorry, wrong person. He was just gone.
What happened
Okay.
after that? Did he kind of give up on going to that room or did he come back again?
I mean, he came a few more times, and then he just stopped coming. I mean, he came a few times, and like I said, there's more than I want to share, but the rest of the team just got here, so I don't want to cut this off. I am so sorry. We're gonna go inside already to the house. This has to be a to be continue. Okay, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I completely understand. I was supposed to have an investigation this week, but we kicked it to next week and I don't know. You really got to be there and help people out and I completely
For sure,
understand and thank you so much for giving me the heads up and yeah, let's talk later. When you get off investigation or if you feel prompted to call me throughout, because I'll be here for the next 2.5 hours. So if anything happens
Sounds
and you
good.
want to call back, feel free to, because I'll just be reading from Reddit or whatnot. So thank you so
Sounds
much,
good.
Michael, for being here, and thank you so much for what you do out there to help other people dealing with this, because there's
My
not a lot of
pleasure.
help. Like you said, you think you can go to the church, and the church is like, sorry, we don't do that.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty scary.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hope you guys have a good night, or you have a good night, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike, and be safe tonight. Please protect
Thank
yourself.
you. All right. I will. Bye bye.
All right, bye bye. All right. So that was Mr. Michael Cardenas, and he's from Midnight Paranormal Society. And yeah, he had to go because he's got an investigation to take care of. But on that note, yeah, could you imagine being that old and going through that? Like, that is why I have sleep issues. That's why I have paranormal PTSD. And some people laugh at me when I say that, but it's true. People do actually get paranormal PTSD. And I don't know, I think helping other people through this whole situation is another way to deal with it. And I did mention while I was talking to him that I will have a gig going on this coming week. And that's going to be at Bottom Shelf Brewery. And that's here in Bayfield. Supposedly the owner knows about it. Supposedly he's okay with it. He's like, do whatever. But the lady that's helping me with the production, which is Julia from Mad Hatter something. What is it called? Anyways, she's going to be filming it and making a little video out of it. I'm going to do a Facebook Live when I do it, trying not to show anything that shows the Bottom Shelf Brewery, but they got some crazy stuff going on there. So I'm hoping that Michael and his team can help these people out with what they're going through. So on that note, yeah, so before I was talking about how, and I'm trying to multitask here and look up Reddit, high strangeness, and tell you all these different things. But yes, my daughter just turned 23 today. That means 2 weeks from now, I will be 44. I don't know if I'm okay with that, but I think I am because my biggest fear throughout life came from a lot of my paranormal stuff, and my mother that passed after seeing all this paranormal stuff was um I needed to live past a certain age, and once I hit that, so much stuff fell off of my shoulders. I was just kind of released from the curse. I'm like, "Yay, I made it." Um but yeah, high strangeness. This is going to be exciting. So this is explorations of paranormal UFOs, ancient cultures, cryptozoology, consciousness, futurism, fringe science, anomalies, animal mutilations, and instances of high strangeness. Oh, Steve King near-death experience. I'm sorry. Like my mic used to work like that, where I could stick my phone up to the mic and you can hear it, but it hasn't. But maybe we can do this. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to turn this up. Put it at a certain place. So, Steve King near death experience testimonial going to hell for 5 minutes after a suicide attempt.
School reopens in the fall, and I'm trying to readjust to life, but I can't because I'm so drugged out. So another guy came and we smoked out again, but this is where it gets kind of crazy. But I smoked what's called a death bowl. The death bowl is the street name for heroin, cocaine, PCP. It looks like marijuana, but it's laced. So when I smoked this drug, I stayed up for 10 straight days. After the third day of staying up, you lose sight of date, time, who you are, why you're alive. On the last day, I actually had a encounter with, I believe it's Satan now, but he came to me in an open eye vision. He just looked like an Asian grandpa and said, I know you're having a hard time. And I said, yeah, I thought it was my Buddhist God. So when he came to me, he said, it's time for you to take your own life, cut your neck, cut your stomach, and I'll spare you from hell. And I didn't know Jesus back then, so that's exactly what I did. I went to the kitchen with my mom in the house, and I grabbed the biggest knife I could find, and I cut my neck open and also my stomach open, and I lost 90% of my blood. My mom walks into the living room and she sees her son almost dying. She calls 911, and the cops come over to try to get the knife away from me. And they came in within like 1 minute, right? I was wrestling with them. They took the knife away. They maced me, whacked me with the bat, and we're struggling. And that's when I fainted after being whacked by the bat. And pretty soon I'm going in and out, and I'm in the hospital. And at the hospital, that's when I had the OVE. I literally, lost consciousness before the surgery. And I see myself, but I'm not going to heaven like the false god Satan and coming as an old grandpa said. I'm sinking, and it feels like an elevator just falling down. And after 5 minutes of just this horrific feeling of being abandoned and fear multiplied by 100 by anything you can feel on earth, I land and I look around and it's hell. How do I know it's hell? Because first of all, I never had this thought before, but when I got there during this out-of-body experience, I look around and there was just so many countless people. I wasn't the only one there. Demons are ceiling high. They're everywhere. I feel pain, and I knew I was a sinner and I will never leave this place. I don't know where the idea came from. I just supernaturally knew, instinctively knew. And that's when I realized, I made a big mistake. I woke up the next day and they told me I was out for 12 hours, but it was a 5-minute visit to hell. And I knew I didn't want to be there because it's like hopelessness, despair, loneliness, pain. When I came out of it, I was like, and just very traumatized for the next 3 months. That's how painful it was. Jesus talks about a place of torment where there is no quenching of fire and there's no stopping of the gnashing of teeth. And I did feel heat. I did feel darkness. I felt hopelessness. That's how I knew it was biblically valid. It was exactly what he said. When I opened my eyes, I was surrounded by pastors like, you want to say the sinner's prayer? I was like, yes, I do. I was so relieved and scared of hell and relieved of being alive at the same time that I think I said the sinner's prayer about 10 times. School reopens in the fall.
That's pretty awesome. I don't know. There's different trials and tribulations that we all go through, and I've been through them. Luckily, I've had different guardian angels on here. My daughter, Kinsey, being one of them. Had I not had Kinsey, it was me and Kinsey against the world for like 2 years, and I don't know, it was so hard sometimes, but other times it was just so peaceful, and she was my saving grace. She's what saved me from so much throughout my life. I'm so grateful and blessed to have had Mackenzie. Even though I was 20, I didn't feel like I was ready. You're never ready for things that are meant for you, and I'm so blessed that I have her in my life, and she's such a good mom, and she's grown so much so quickly. Sometimes these processes take quite a while, but she actually went through them with a quick rate of case, and she's just amazing. I'm so blessed to be her mother. And I'm so grateful that you guys are all here this evening for We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. So, Steve King, thank you so much for sharing your near-death experience. And part of that kind of touches home for me as far as a lot of my listeners know, the people especially that partake of the after party, my husband almost died this last year, and I know we've been through all kinds of trials and tribulations ourselves. We love each other. We keep each other in a very cozy, warm space. But we all caught COVID. And I think one of the littles, it could have been Floyd, could have been Lily, but one of the littles brought COVID home to us. And I don't think it spread from my son to my husband. I think it spread from me to my husband because I was taking care of the babies while they were sick and giving them medicine and making sure they drink their water and have their vitamins or whatnot. But he he almost died. It was actually right before Christmas. His birthday is the 22nd of December. That's when he first got sick, and he was hanging tough. He was hanging in there. And then I believe it was New Year's Eve, and we were both really sick. We all came out, did our New Year's thing, and then I went back to bed into my cuddly warm spot. And he called my daughter to take him to the hospital because she wasn't sick, and he knew how bad off I was. And she took him in, and he got admitted because he has COVID. Not only does he have COVID, he has bacterial pneumonia. And he's always like dealt with bronchitis through his life, but I think it's due to having COVID, bacterial pneumonia kind of snuck its way in there. And so she took him, and it was like I wanted to get out of bed. I wanted to go and say goodbye to him. I'm sure he wanted to come back and say goodbye to me and give me kisses and loves and stuff. But we were both so very sick, neither one of us could do it. And so I do believe I did say goodbye to him right before he left the bedroom. But, we have we got the king size California king, so it's extra large. And so it's hard to lean over, and he was mostly living in the living room at that point, and I was in my cozy spot in the bedroom where it's coldest. But anywho's, she took him, and he got admitted, and he fought it for as long as he could. He was really strong, really diligent, really fighting to get through this because he had so much to live for. He had 4 children that love and depend upon him, and crazy whacked ass wife. So he's like, "No, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it," and he's fighting and fighting and fighting everything he can, and they keep telling him, "We need to intubate you. We need to put you on the tube." And he's like, "Nope, not gonna do it." And then he called me, and I think I was in the after party at the time. And he said, "Babe, I'm gonna get the tube. I know you don't want me to, but I really need to do this, and I can't breathe, and this is so important." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." I was so scared. Like, "Oh no, I've heard all these horror stories about people being put on the tube, and once you're on the tube, you're dead." And he's like, "It's okay. I'll be awake for it all, and I'll be messaging you. I might not be able to call you because I have a tube or whatever, but blah blah blah." Well, come to find out, you can't make phone calls when you're intubated. You're in a medically induced coma because the natural process of the body is if something's in your throat, you're going to try to get it out. So you have that gag reflex. So he couldn't be awake for that. So I'm like, "What's going on? What's going on?" Luckily, the nursing staff kept in contact with me. I was amazed that not only was it nursing staff from here, there's people from Texas, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, all over the world. Nurses are traveling around to help people through this whole situation. They wouldn't let us see him for a while, even though we all had COVID at the same time. It took about, oh my gosh, it felt like forever. Maybe it was a week or two before, I think it was 2 weeks. It could have been one. It felt like two. But before we could actually go and see him, and then during the time of COVID, only one person per day can come in to see. And maybe that's because if somebody gets infected, they can follow the trail more easily to see who infected this person. But it really made things very difficult. So of course it was just me at first, and then I talked to my daughters, and I'm like, "If you want to go see your dad, it's pretty sad, it's pretty scary, but if you want to go see your dad, we will take turns. I'm not going to hog the whole, situation. You guys deserve as much as I to go see your father." So then we started cordoning it up, and people are telling me not to let anybody else in there to see him, but he is so close with his family, so he needs to see his nephews. He needs to see his brother. His brother went one time and couldn't handle it. His brother just passed away about a month ago. It was very sad, very unexpected. Not the way it was planned to be, just like my father. Not the way it was supposed to be. My father had cirrhosis of the liver, died from kidney failure because he quit taking his medications. But anyways, it was very hard to see him that way, and I really got frustrated with his brother, Dave, because he was saying, oh, he's sitting in a chair, oh, this, oh, that, oh, yeah, he's coming back. And I'm like, they're just carrying him over to a chair and putting him there just to change the position, maybe while they're changing bedding or whatnot, but he is not sitting in a chair partaking of his meal. He is not like that. So he went in, like I said, January 1st. They proclaim it as January 2nd. And he didn't come out until after Valentine's Day. But, oh my gosh, this makes my heart flutter. It makes my heart warm and happy. Um, but okay, so we go into February and they get a hold of me and they're like, okay, this is what's going on. Okay, so predate this. He's gone through so many different antibiotics. They're trying to fight this bacterial pneumonia. More than COVID, it's the things that come after COVID that really fucking kill you. And so he's on so many different antibiotics. Different doctors are talking to me. One doctor scared the shit out of me and was like, I don't even think he's going to make it through the night or something like that. And I just fucking flipped out. But I had one talk to me and tell me, yes, we're doing all this that we can with these antibiotics. Hopefully we can beat this. And then they called me about taking him off the tube, taking him off being intubated. And they're like, if we continue to intubate him, his tube is going to collapse as far as like, where you eat, where you breathe. The tube that you have there will start to collapse because the muscles aren't holding it open anymore. It's the tube holding it open. So it really complicates things. I was afraid. I didn't know what to say or do, or if I had any say in it. I did say a lot, and I cried and I pleaded with people, and I'm like, he's got kids, he's got this, he's got that, blah, blah, blah. One of the things the chaplain did right away, which was very important, because of all of this stuff you hear about bonuses and this and this and that and that, you have to show that there's love and care in a person's life. So the chaplain was saying, hey, could you bring in some pictures? Could you do this and this and that in order for the nursing staff to see that this person is loved and needed? And so very next day I had this compilation of pictures, which is now on our wall right next to where my husband sleeps. But it was the kids and then me. And the very top was all of us together. And it was really the most beautiful picture ever, but put that in there. And then Kinsey and Nova bought uh they bought a little dinosaur. I think it was a triceratops. It could have been something else. The one with more of a shield than a triceratops. Is that Stegosaurus? I can't remember what that is. They bought him one of those, and then they bought him some fuzzy socks and all this shit he can't even use because he's not here. But we did different things throughout, and other people came through and did different things because Vern was born here in Durango. He's also been a band most of his life, like since he was like, I want to say 10 years old. He's been in a band, and he's now, don't tell him I told you, but he's like 53 years old right now, or about to be 53. Yeah, he's about to be 53. He's 52 right now. Been in a band most of his life, and a lot of people know him, a lot of people love him, and the same with Dave when he was passing away. So many people came out of the woodwork It was amazing and beautiful and lovely, and I really love that, all that support. I kind of feel like, you guys, and I don't want to sound crazy when I say this, but I have partaken of the religious society since the age of about, I'm going to say 6. My mom died when I was 5, almost 6. After that, I used to talk to her through the North Star. I used to also talk to her a lot, just trying to communicate things to her and such. I don't know how messages work over there. I believe that if you have a message for someone on the other side, if you just lost somebody in your life, you need to talk to them. You need to communicate with them. Guess what? You don't have to pay for a psychic. You don't have to do any of that shit. All you have to do is talk in your mind. You don't even have to look crazy and talk out loud. Say it in your head. You can feel things, right? You feel emotions. Sometimes different things come along that let you know that they came through and they're listening to you. Could be a butterfly. Could be a bird. Could be a number of things that show you that they're there. But yeah, you have to carry on with what you love. And my husband, going through all he has, he calls it the 9 levels of hell. I had to crawl out of the 9 levels of hell just to get back to earth. And I don't think he was meant to go to hell. He's a very heavenly person. But there's so much shit going on over there. And I think what it was tests. Different tests that he needed to pass in order to make it from that side back to the other. And he did good. There were so many different things that happened, and I can't share everything with you. But one of them was how close is too close with Betty White. And guess what? Like right before he had that dream, Betty White had just passed away. So she's on the other side doing this game show. How close is too close with Betty White? And it's all about your soul. That's pretty funny. But there was a lot crazier stuff. Hey, I was actually there working for the hospital. I was poking in on my husband a few times, and then come to find out, I was building buttholes. Yeah. I was building buttholes, like maybe for bikers who biff out when they lose their anus or something. Like, I will rebuild your anus. Did you know you can fit 32 Earths? Or is it 36? 36 Earths in Uranus? That's pretty amazing to me. But anywho's, you guys, enough craziness. We have to go to our first music break. On this break, we have Miss Tamara Bubble from the greater New York area, and she will be singing Out the Mud, Natural Born Winner, Cute Panties, and Laundry. And then we have Mr. Roy Washington with Subliminal. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
I get that feeling I'm too weak tight, and I'm okay on letting out at sea. So puffed I had it in the daytime. Promise you'll keep sunshine on my feet. Somebody pinch me, this is juicy, juicy. Squeeze out this warm glow on my cheek. Sweet dreams told me don't let go. Take me through the day. Sweet dreams, please don't tell me lies. Take me by surprise. It's gonna be different now. That's what they say. It's gonna be different how when it's steady pouring rain. We stepping out the mud. Yeah, we on our way. We stepping out the mud. We gon' be okay. Ain't got to live in dirt. I walk through, walk through. Ain't got to deal with what I won't do, won't do. We stepping out the mud. Yeah, we on our way. Run your way up out the mud. We gon' be okay. Ain't gon' do me dirty. You gonna be different now. That's what they say. It's gonna be different how when it's steady pouring rain. We stepping out the mud. Yeah, we on our way. We stepping out the mud. We gon' be okay. Ain't got to live in dirt. I walk through, walk through. Ain't got to deal with what I won't do, won't do. We stepping out the mud. Yeah, we on our way. Run your way about the mud. We gon' be okay. Ain't gon' do me dirty. You gon' do me right, right. Give me all the sunshine I need in my life, life. Ain't gon' do me dirty. You gon' do me right, right. Give me all the sunshine I need in my life. Hold on. Slide, move to the side, make way for the bubble. Right. Bubble on deck. I said, look. Hard to hear it, what's up? Look. Watch out, little homie, watch out. I'm seeing it, loving it, feeling it, breathing it. Saying it, doing it, running it, barely. I'm a natural winner. I'm the one that you invite to meet your parents for dinner. Cause I can take a couple L's and I'ma bounce right back. Just so you and all your friends can hit the bounce like that. Cause I'm seeing it, loving it, feeling it, breathing it. Saying it, doing it, running it, barely. I'm a natural winner. I'm the one that you invite to meet your parents for dinner. Cause I can take a couple L's and I'ma bounce right back. Just so you and all your friends can hit the bounce like that. Cause I'm your favorite rapper. And I ain't in the suit, but I'm looking dapper. When I ain't in the booth, yeah, I'm still gon' snap it. Homie, you ain't gotta lie, cause it's the truth we after. And I'm without the beef for the clout. I'm the one you shouldn't believe the rumors about. Spitting and giving you brain tumors and Zuma lessons. Mover and a shaker with the flow soon as I pop you toes. If you had any ego or ego, let go. If you had any doubt about me, just know I'm pleasing to the ears and the eyes and the throat. And I ain't giving you no more detail till we talk pillow. I ain't nowhere close to my greatness. I don't do all that boasting, just make hits. Yo, I don't do all that posting, naked pics for likes, and I ain't make this up, I can't fake this. Seeing it, loving it, feeling it, breathing it. Saying it, doing it, running it, barely. I'm a natural winner. I'm the one that you invite to meet your parents for dinner. Cause I can take a couple L's and I'ma bounce right back. Just so you and all your friends can hit the bounce like that. Cause I'm seeing it, loving it, feeling it, breathing it. Saying it, doing it, running it, barely. I'm a natural winner. I'm the one that you invite to meet your parents for dinner. Cause I can take a couple L's and I'ma bounce right back. Just so you and all your friends can hit the bounce like that. Cause I'm a lover and a fighter and a giver and a pleasure and pain and boss deliver it out. Yet I make this look real easy. Everybody hate Chris, but I'ma win like Breezy. But I started later on the way to the top and can't stop, so don't push not one button on this elevator. They try to push my buttons to start levitating. Rise above it all, I can tell that you fake when you're shaking my hand and the smile on your face shows me even you're greeting and meeting and love is hating. I'm actually amazing, but modestly saying I ain't waiting for cosigns or playlists. Cause I ain't nowhere close to my greatness. I don't do all that boasting, just make hits. Yo, I don't do all that posting, naked pics for likes, and I ain't make this up, I can't fake this. Seeing it, loving it, feeling it, breathing it. Saying it, doing it, running it, barely. I'm a natural winner. I'm the one that you invite to meet your parents for dinner. Cause I can take a couple L's and I'ma bounce right back. Just so you and all your friends can hit the bounce like that. Cause I'm seeing it, loving it, feeling it, breathing it. Saying it, doing it, running it, barely. I'm a natural winner. I'm the one that you invite to meet your parents for dinner. Cause I can take a couple L's and I'ma bounce right back. Just so you and all your friends can hit the bounce like that. Cause I'm the one you gon' call when you're lonely. I'm the new girl on the block, you gon' show off to your homies. I'm telling you now, we gon' vibe in the booth. How you crave another feature like I'm your sweet tooth. All my people wanna see me shine, but I don't pray for you to fall, cause I don't play with karma. When I slide through, it's gon' be bad timing. Like, watch out, little homie, watch out. I'm
see you, Roy Washington, man. What's happening, man?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. They never say it in words, but in deeds wars declared. Justice is gone and the sight's none is spared. Especially the kingdom encased in melanin. But these suckers are weak, kings and queens will ride again. Come on. Slackers with badges, the white sheets and the maggots. Watch them fall as I tag them because I'm better than average. A sharp shooter with words with my eye to the scope. And they escape when I don the black cape? Is hell no. I'm a ninja for right, who can vanish from sight. Pick you off in the night, but still the Lord is my light. Perceiving all you see, the truth behind the scenes. Instead of jumping bandwagons, the light says believe in me. Cause you're a puppet, no doubt. 45th turned you out. Though I saw your lips moving, no sound came out. So I was sent from the heavenlies, born so you could find me. Swam the scene and stream, took flight during the 90s. Landed in grace, wrote a verse of hip-hop. Got with Jay and found the taste was smooth as butterscotch. We had hood love and money. Problems, they be on me, but we stayed in the flow. And had juice like Manolo.
They can try to oppress, you can try to impress. Cause after success, none less. You can look in my eyes, you can feel in my vibes. Look me down inside and it's so cinnamon. I got God on my side, I ain't worried about none. If it ain't about money, then it ain't about none. Laughing at my enemies, I know they see me coming. If it ain't subliminal, they can't even see me. Politics abolish it, I'm here to raise the consciousness. For every face and race up in this nation trapped in poverty. Diamond in the rough, need to cut, shape it and polish it. Bad thoughts cripple life, we can just be an optimist. We can be an optimist, reconstruct apocalypse. Broke people always hating, mix me with that gossiping. Rose up in the concrete, rain and sun, I'm blossoming. My people need to be like kind of Velcro, then we conquer it. They can try to oppress, you can try to impress. I'm just after success, none less. You can look in my eyes, you can feel in my vibes. Keep down inside and it's so subliminal. I got God on my side, I ain't worried about none. If it ain't about money, then it ain't about none. Laughing at my enemies, I know they see me coming. If it ain't subliminal, they can't even see me coming.
The 45th is a joke, and he's weak in disgust. He plans to divide, but there's no stopping us. If we have to fight, go toe-to-toe for our lives, we prevail and got sight, cause only light I recite. I blow my lyrics like a shotgun, camouflaged inside the tracks. Now watch the suckers run. Not moving fast enough, heads up, now here I come. I designed 50 ways to make this murder fun. I spit the lyrical rain that coat the concrete, that give life and take form. Arise and walk the street. Am I the greatest to spit? Feel the spray and we'll see. Let it dry, all the lies and the truth will point to me. Even when surrounded by a million MCs, I'm the one under the sun who's the greatest of these. I got the Holy Ghost juking and tapping while I'm rapping. Sticking and moving like Roy Jones, I'll make it happen. Even animals move when the novelist is rocking. My doggy started barking, his ears just a flopping. Subliminally, I penetrate camps like an enemy. Flicking the lights, cancel sight, cause you're not seeing me.
They can try to oppress, you can try to impress. I'm just after success, none less. You can look in my eyes, you can feel in my vibes. Live a king down inside. And it's so subliminal. I got God on my side, I ain't worried about none. If it ain't about money, then it ain't about none. Laughing at my enemies, I know they see me coming. If it ain't subliminal, they can't even see me coming.
Yeah. Bubble on that. Yeah. Real kill. On the way. On the way. To be honest, I don't really wear many. I don't even really rock panties. Let me be clear, I'm used to getting a few new big pair each year from my granny. Couple sexy ones that might come off, and I done had way too much Henny or drunk text go out. They come and eat the sweet juicy pie down there, I'ma go that route. But now, nigga, wrong song. I only need a couple of bars to turn you on. That's why I started mentioning that lingerie, but pull her to the studio with some long johns. This verse about to take a turn for the worse, and all them cute panties gonna be long gone. Cause the hating niggas that I wrote it for, they ain't afraid of wordplay, that's why they wrote this for. So I'ma drive them wild. Thinking one day they might hit all about my boy shorts, G-string, slutty thongs, even put them edible panties on the cover so they wonder how that bubble tastes. You can stay mad, be miserable, old, predictable, maybe not even applicable. But yeah, you typical. Check your mans if it ain't you, cause way too many queens rocking shades cause they eyes black and blue. Way too many dudes putting hands on the bra. That make you feel like a man. Mishandling a weaker vessel, yeah, you saw. Yo, look, it's way too many dudes only wanna spar. But ain't got no conversation, only wanna gossip when we talk. Why I keep seeing these grown dudes out in the broad daylight like some broad? Why I keep seeing these dudes letting these girls fighting on the stopping to record? These little niggas online, the worst part, lame hoes got a squad. And all they do is dislike the females doing interviews with that nigga blog. Let me slip you into something real soft. Prefer the lace of satin or the silk, cause some pretty little rolls, they gon' hang off your balls. Look at you, sitting pretty, yeah. You the type that rock them cute pennies, yeah. Come here, you cute, yeah. Real cute, you hating on a female, cute, real cute. Why you mad we getting money? Maybe that's why you sag like them punish out. Oh, by the way, cute pennies, bro. Real cute. Grown man, big boss, taking shots from a penthouse loft. Talking trash, he making big calls. Yep, then again, that's only till his phone got off. Come again, yes, phone got disconnected. But don't worry, he be back online hating in a second. Back at the crib, remember she paid the phone and the rent. Squashing nigga vegetable soft. Now he souped up in my mentions on some vegetable bro. Leaving comment at the comment, you that thirsty, drink vomit. I promise I ain't never seen nobody when had so much time to hate me. Be honest, is you mad at me? Or the fact that I'm grinding? It's a fact that I'm winning, son, I really be shining. Why you pressed on my diamond? You ready to swing on this little bitty girl, so don't tell me I'm lying. Way too many dudes putting hands on the bro. That make you feel like a man. Mishandling a weaker vessel, yeah, you saw. Yo, look, it's way too many dudes only wanna spawn. But ain't got no conversation, only wanna gossip when we talk. Why kicks in these grown dudes, I get a broad daily like some broad. Why kicks in these dudes, like these girls fighting on the stop to record. These little niggas online, the worst part, lame hoes got a squad. And all they do is this like the females doing interviews with that nigga blog. I be like, come in, big boy, take off them drawers. I just came from shopping. Let me slip you into something real soft. You prefer the lace of satin or the silk, cause some pretty little rolls, they gon' hang off your balls. Look at you, sitting pretty, yeah. You the type that rock them cute pennies, yeah. Come here, you cute, yeah. Real cute, you hating on a female, cute, real cute. Why you mad we getting money? Maybe that's why you sag like them punish out. Oh, by the way, cute pennies, bro. Real cute. Ayy, get up on that washer, hit the spin cycle till I come home. The way where I'm at, I'm out here breadwinning, so don't hit my phone. Shoulda never gave you treats like that. You got a sweet tooth and won't leave me alone. And every time I try to get some sleep, I wake up cause you doing me wrong. Nigga up under covers, used to fight it, but I love it. Hate it that you got me weak, cause now we ruin all these sheets. Like who doing laundry? Who doing laundry? Who? You doing laundry? Who doing laundry? You doing laundry? Who? You doing laundry? Ain't playing, think I'm playing. I'ma have you doing them dishes too. Better lick them plates clean, be grateful for this delicious food. Why you want no fours? What you scrubbing floors cause you want some more? But you like it dirty, you is so dirty, you like it dirty. Sneaking up under covers, used to fight it, but I love it. Hate it that you got me weak, cause now we ruin all these sheets. Like who doing laundry? You doing laundry? Who? You doing laundry? Who doing laundry? You doing laundry? Who? You doing laundry? Sneaking up under covers, used to fight it, but I love it. Hate it that you got me weak, cause now we ruin all these sheets. Like who doing laundry? You doing laundry? Who? You doing laundry? Who doing laundry? You doing laundry? Who? You doing laundry? First of all, I was sleeping. And second of all, why you creeping? Third of all up on me, rubbing like conditioner that you be trying to leave in. Relax, love, keep breathing. And I would say keep cleaning, but you like it dirty. You is so dirty. You like it dirty. Sneaking up under covers, used to fight it, but I love it. Hate it that you got me weak, cause now we ruin all these sheets. Like who doing laundry? You doing laundry? Who? You doing laundry? Who doing laundry? You doing laundry? Who? You doing laundry? Get up on that washer, hit the spin cycle till I come home. The way where I'm at, I'm out here breadwinning, so don't hit my phone. Shoulda never gave you treats like that. You got a sweet tooth and won't leave me alone. And every time I try to get some sleep, I wake up cause you doing me wrong. Sneaking up under covers, used to fight it, but I love it. Hate it that you got me weak, cause now we ruin all these sheets. Like who doing laundry? You doing laundry? Who? You doing laundry? Who doing laundry? You doing laundry? Who? You doing laundry? Sneaking up under covers, used to fight it, but I Yeah, 'cause you like it dirty. You are so dirty. You like it dirty, yeah? Undercovers. Yeah, 'cause you like it dirty. You are so dirty. You like it dirty, yeah?
Thank you so much for joining us this evening on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. For the first at least half hour, almost 45 minutes, we had Mr. Mike Cardenas, and he pronounces it differently, so I'll have to get back with him on pronunciation because I don't want to insult him. But he has founded the group Midnight Paranormal Society out of Antonio, Texas. So you guys make sure you go and search it out and figure out where the heck this guy is because he's pretty awesome. They're right now helping some friends through some paranormal shenanigans going on over there. But I'm so grateful he was there. Now we are on Reddit High Strangeness. And as far as the Four Corners goes, we have High Strangeness here all the time. So this one is from r/high strangeness. And the user is u/information OK9318. Graham Hancock, banned from Serpent Mound. Why does the establishment of academia repeatedly silence anyone who points out evidence that ancient American cultures could date back further than expected? What is the incentive to do that? Is it a conspiracy or a complex? And that's true because it's been found that we actually existed way longer before they are saying. Some of the different anthropologists or whatnot out there have discovered that yes, different things around and underneath the bones can date it back, and they kind of misconfigured it at first, but they've got it figured out. But some people don't want to say, hey, I was wrong, because some people don't want to be wrong. But here we go. This is labeled, is Serpent Mound 12,000 plus years old? And this is Graham Hancock, banned from Serpent Mound.
I think that's the issue. But there's really some quite sinister things have happened. Because of this show, I got banned from Egypt. That's the very clever way for archaeologists to make sure that no criticism can come in of their sites. Is just to of their take on things. It's just to ban the critic from coming there. I got banned from Serpent Mound in Ohio. Can you imagine that? I mean, Serpent Mound is a national landmark. We should not get banned from going. When you say banned, meaning you tried to go there.
Oh, that's Joe Rogan.
When we approached them to make an episode of my Netflix series at Serpent Mound, initially they were welcoming. They heard Graham Hancock was presenting the series, and immediately turned around and said, "Oh, it's refused," because Hancock's views differ from our own. I was able to make a virtue of that, in the sense that I stood at the gates of Serpent Mound, which were closed, and I read out their letter where they say that just because I don't agree with them, won't allow me access to the site. Fortunately, we have masses of footage, drones, and other things that we were able to show. It shows again mentality. It must be very insecure in their ideas. If they actually have to ban critics from expressing a whole bunch of ideas. What is the significance of Serpent Mound? Well, the first and foremost thing is it's a beautiful, amazing site, which everybody who can get to Ohio should go and see. It's just a most incredible place. But secondly, indications that it's much older than it's supposed to be. And that has particularly to do with the way that the jaws of the serpent line up to the setting sun, and because the changing positions of the artifacts that dated to a minute to get a grip. Many of these theories are
Sorry.
the ancient mound work at Serpent Mound, stretching over 1,300 feet from tail to mouth. This gigantic earthwork is perhaps the found at Serpent Mound. There are countless examples.
Man, where'd it go?
As I stared at the controller screen while the time lapse took place. couldn't help but feel as if I was witnessing.
So I don't know what to do about this. Maybe I should just start from the beginning. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, guys. Okay. I just tried to make the screen bigger, and it's making me go back to the very end.
Because of the show, I got from Egypt. That's the clever way for archaeologists to make sure that no criticism can come in of their sites. Is just of their take on things. It's just to ban the critic from coming there. I got banned from Serpent Mound in Ohio. Can you imagine that? I mean, Serpent Mound is a national landmark. We should not get banned from going. Meaning, you tried to go to the film, or when we approached them to make an episode of my Netflix series, Serpent Mound. Initially, they were welcoming. Graham Hancock was presenting the series. Immediately, they turned around and said, because Hancock's views were from our own. Well, I was able to make a virtue of that, in the sense that I stood at the gates of Serpent Mound, which were closed, and I read out their letter, where they say that just because I don't agree with them, won't allow me access to the site. Fortunately, we have masses of footage, drones, and other things that we were able to show. It shows again a limited mentality. To be very insecure in their ideas. If they actually have to ban critics from expressing alternative ideas. What is the significance of Serpent Mound? Well, so the first and foremost thing is it's an incredible, beautiful, amazing site, which everybody who can get to Ohio should go and see. It's just the most incredible place. But secondly, there are indications that it's much older than it's supposed to be. And that has particularly to do with the way that the jaws of the serpent line up to the setting sun, and because the changing positions of the sunset due to changes in the earth. So that's it there. We're looking at that's the head of the serpent, and it's looking straight at the setting sun. And this alignment was perfect 12,500 years ago.
So yes, they're talking about how it used to line up with the sun, but now due to so many years, 15,000 is what I believe he was saying, that the lineage to the sun has changed. Going back now.
Off today, and that's because of changes in the rising point of the sun over thousands of years. That's what they don't like. They don't want Serpent Mound to be old. One group of archaeologists think it's just 1,000 years old. Another group think, well, maybe it's 2,500 or 3,000 years old. But the notion that it might be 12,000 years old is something they don't want anybody to hear, really. The ancient world was in tune with the force that modern man has lost touch with. There are countless examples across the world of ancients aligning their monuments and creations with the world above that they were constantly observing in the sky. One of the best examples of this can be found at Serpent Mound in Ohio. On June 20th, 2022, on the summer solstice eve, I had the fortune of witnessing one of the most spectacular forms of archaeoastronomy one can observe. I flew my drone from the bank of Brush Creek to observe the spectacular alignment of the ancient mound work at Serpent Mound. Stretching over 1,300 feet from tail to mouth, this gigantic earthwork is perhaps the finest ancient geoglyph in the world. I was there to capture a time-lapse of the alignment of the serpent's jaws with the setting sun. I tried my best to calculate the exact moment of the sunset in order to capture the entire phenomenon before my DJI Mini 3 Pro would run out of battery. As I stared at the controller screen while the time-lapse took place, I couldn't help but feel as if I was witnessing genius. Something that I didn't quite understand the meaning of, despite it feeling like I should. I first found out about this event by reading Graham Hancock's book, America Before. If you're not aware of who Graham Hancock is, he's a famous author and researcher of ancient history who recently has been vindicated despite decades of accusations of being a pseudo-historian for some of his theories. Many of these theories revolve around the idea of a lost civilization and an ancient cyclical reset of humanity. In his book America Before, Graham points out many examples that show humans have been in the Americas far longer than mainstream academia cares to admit.
Yeah, and it's intriguing as far as I was talking about before, archaeologists and such, who, there's newer people going out into the field, there's newer knowledges, newer, different, opening perspectives. And before they were aging the soil around the bone, when underneath the bone is where you should go, and that's where it really shows how far back things have been. So I believe humans were around. I believe personally, this is my own personal stasis. Humans were around millions of years before they even said we were, whether we were Cro-Magnius or whatever, like different cavemen. There's so many different structures as far as that goes. Cro-Magnon man, so many different things going on there. I think we've been around a lot longer. There's actually structures here in the Four Corners area that shows not only dinosaur tracks, but human tracks crossing dinosaur tracks. So I'm pretty sure we were around the same time as these prolific and historic creatures. And I do believe here in the Four Corners we still have the Thunderbird, which is not tricep. What the heck is that? Ah, it's the one that flies. I can't think of it right now. Having a brain fart. Pterodactyl. So pterodactyls. Now they're called thunderbirds through natives. We also have sightings of little tiny T-Rexes. Where are the bigger ones? Who knows? There's lots of caves and caverns and canyons and whatnot in this area, so maybe they're over there. Maybe they're just coming back. Who knows what the crack is going on with that? But let's continue with this.
Many of Graham's theories are starting to be proven plausible, with new evidence of ancient cataclysms nearly 12,000 years ago, as well as more evidence of an ancient human past in the Americas that far exceeds the current estimates of 14,000 years by mainstream archaeologists. As we've seen over and over again throughout history, whenever the academic establishment's monopoly on a truth is challenged, they resort to personal attacks and outright censorship to hold on to their dogma. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having experts to rely on for information and research about the past. But as Graham has recently said, there is something wrong with them having a monopoly on the narrative of humanity's past, especially in the age of the internet, where crowdsourcing is uncovering new information on the history of humanity every single week. There has been ongoing controversy at Serpent Mound about the age of the earthwork. There's some evidence within the alignment of the archaeoastronomy phenomenon at Serpent Mound that this could have been created first around 12,000 years ago. Graham explains this in his book, and I will go over that evidence and information in this video. Let's get into the details about the controversy of the age at Serpent Mound. Graham explains how this place had two very special qualities to it. The serpent is located in an ancient crater that was created by an impact. Magnetic anomalies exist in the areas that cause compasses to give inaccurate readings. The location of the serpent also happens to be the border of the glacial mass of the last ice age 21,000 years ago, the border between ice and land. There's long been an argument about whether it was the more recent Four Ancient culture or the more ancient Adena culture that built the mound.
Isn't that the question? Sorry, I had to pause again because of copyright issues. So I do have to interrupt every now and then, but it makes a lot of sense to me. The meteor came, made a crater, they're getting rocks from this sacred site, they're building this mound. This serpent mound has some very magnetic craziness going on with it. It's pretty paranormal. It's beyond normal.
Graham Hancock makes the proposal that both of these cultures reconstructed and rebuilt the structure that had already been there from a previous age. It wasn't until 1987 that anyone had even made the connection that the serpent was an archaeoastronomy site marking the summer solstice. Two researchers, Clark and Marjorie Hardman, brought this to light. It has long been assumed that the Serpent Mound was built about 2,000 years ago. Because the Earth does not rotate perfectly on its axis, and it goes through a cyclical cycle of precession. Its age has been questioned by independent researchers.
Me too.
This means that the setting sun would not always have been exactly where it is today on the summer solstice. 2,000 years ago, the summer solstice sunset would have been about 3 sun diameters south of the horizon in alignment with the serpent. In Graham's book, America Before, he explains the 4 logical conclusions that present themselves as a result of this information. The 4 possible conclusions are: 1. Its builders were very poor astronomers. 2. The intention was never to orient the serpent with the summer solstice at all. 3. The Hardmans were right in their general thesis, but had gotten their observational point and sight lining wrong. Or 4. The alignment had not been made 2,000 years ago.
Okay, so what my thought process is on this, remember the Fukushima thing where there was an earthquake, Fukushima got fucked up, radiation has been leaked there on out into the ocean, things are partaking of that. Not only did that happen, I didn't even feel a shudder over here, but the creatures of the earth did, as far as that night, as soon as I saw that on the news, which I was, I don't know, at that time religiously watching the news. I actually like news. I like history. I like all kinds of things. But watching this earthquake that had happened, Fukushima melting down, all this other stuff. And right after the earthquake happened, I swear to God, even though there was still snow on the ground, it was still very cold, the crickets woke up. I heard the crickets. Not only that, the Earth's axis tilted, which is kind of what he's talking about right here. The Earth's axis, the Earth's poles, had shifted. There's been changes like that. There's no way to going along the stars and the way they pass, etc., doing all these studies as an ancient people, that you can pick up on future things that are happening that are going to change the poles and the magnetism of the Earth. Let's get back to our video.
Far long ago. After doing the math and observing the obliquity cycle, it becomes clear that if the intention for the builders of Serpent Mound was to create a solstice marker, and that the builders successfully did so in alignment with the sunset on that date, then that would put the construction of the serpent to around 11,000 BC. This makes archaeologists very uncomfortable. Anytime an old age is hypothesized in ancient American history, it is immediately dismissed despite the evidence presented. Examples of this can be found at Hueyatlaco in Puebla, Mexico, which I visited in the spring of 2022 to tell the story of the discovery and subsequent cover-up of human artifacts that dated to a minimum of 250,000 years.
Holy shit.
It's my personal opinion that the management at Serpent Mound needs to get a grip and have more respect for researchers like Graham Hancock. There is no room for censorship of ideas and outright bans of people from historical sites in America. Not only is that bad science, but it is petty and shows extreme insecurity.
Indeed.
So that's the short story of the controversy of the incredible Serpent Mound, a landmark that I cherish despite the Orwellian behavior that's shown toward Mr. Graham Hancock, the man that has introduced more people to the site than just about anyone. Thanks for watching Incredible History. If you like this episode, please.
So yes, if you want to, go ahead and go to the page that he just introduced. I'm hoping I can see it here. Anywho's, make sure you guys go there and subscribe. That was pretty amazing. I really like that, and I love that he had such a relaxing voice. Oh my goodness, so somebody here in High Strangeness, it's user u/Dr. Bushka. Have you dreamed of the mall world? You aren't alone. Join us in mapping the mall world. There is a shared dream happening, and none of us can explain it. Oh my god, I just reported on that, I think a year and a half or maybe a year ago. having this dream about a mall, and I just chalked it up to watching Stranger Things and being in that mall that was deserted for quite a while, which that's where they made that movie for that mall scene. But that's pretty intriguing. If any of you guys have had mall dreams too, I do believe we had somebody else on the show that called in or was talking to us in the after party that also had a mall dream, and she was sharing pictures, and that was pretty insane. So this one is by you /OK_star_9836, and this is under Reddit, High Strangeness. What do you guys reckon is the chance some other entity can access your thoughts? Maybe this is why they are avoiding disclosures, because it would make us all go schizophrenic and paranoid. This is probably one aspect out of like 20 that wouldn't just scare us. I'm talking about I would fundamentally tear apart our realities, and our fragile minds wouldn't be able to keep functioning. There's also the aspect that we, in our egotistical ways, would twist and misinterpret whatever this is as well. Let's look at some historical examples to portray this. If the Roman emperor back then made up a public decree that every human is in fact made up of billions and billions of tiny creatures, your average citizen would spin this dozens of ways. You'd have people proclaiming that they are gods, people eating flesh to gain more life. You'd have people not cutting their hair or other body modifications so as not to lose life. To this point is that the society was not ready for a technology or breakthrough. Their society lacked the proper foundation to understand what to do and make of said breakthrough. And I think that's part of the problem with us now. They've waited too long, and the discrepancy between what the government knows and what the people know is too great. The public has spent years forming its own opinion, when we as a society are not mature or prepared enough to actually grasp the implications. And so what we think we know is the opinion of a pre-disclosure society. Well, yeah, just look at history class and other classes that we've taken. English, not so much, but, science, history. All kinds of breakthroughs are being made all of the time. This one is by you/tank_booty. The moment when my life and my children's was saved by a disembodied voice. And once again, you guys, this is under Reddit, High Strangeness. I was driving home from tending our horses at the time. This was about 17 years ago. My oldest daughter was 3 or 4 at the time. She is now 21, and my youngest was less than a year. It was dusk, and we had just heard on the radio that Chris Ledoux had passed away. I pulled over and cried because I adore him. Several minutes later, I gathered myself and continued to drive home from the boarding facility. Everything was normal. I was at the final stoplight in the left turn lane. The light had turned green, and typically I would have made the turn. However, I heard a voice say, "Wait!" At that exact moment, the light turned green. It was so clear and distinct that I froze, just as I was thinking, did I just hear that? A semi-truck blew through the red light. Had I made the left-hand turn on the green and not been so caught off guard by this random voice, I and my oldest daughter would have been killed. The semi would have hit the driver's side of the van. This one is by you/spiritual_way_2311. Saved by instinct? I was almost kidnapped as a child in a very chilling way. This happened when I was around the 3rd grade, about 13 years ago. I live in a suburban neighborhood close to a major city. This particular day, I decided I wanted to ride my bike as I just had my training wheels removed. I asked my mom if I could, and she told me I should only ride about 2 house lengths in each direction and ride back and forth. This is what I decided to do, and my mom didn't have the time to sit outside and watch me, so I began biking back and forth in front of my house alone, and I probably did for a good 10 to 15 minutes until I got the feeling I'm done, so I head back the probably only 50 feet back to my house. This is where I feel something intervened or decided to warn me. As soon as I got to my driveway, I get the feeling I should quickly get into the garage. For context, both my parents were home, so there were 2 cars in the 2-car garage. My bike usually rested in front of my dad's Durango, and I had the intense feeling that I should just put it in there myself. So I pick up my bike and shimmy my way to the front of my dad's Durango, and as soon as I put my bike in its usual place, a red pickup truck barrels into my driveway. This truck pulls in very quickly, and 2 bald men in black t-shirts and black pants immediately get out of the truck and are saying, "Where did he go?" At this moment, I'm crouched down in front of my dad's Durango, absolutely frozen in fear in my garage. After about 5 to 10 seconds of them looking around and not seeing me, they get back in and reverse out. I probably stood there in front of that car for 5 minutes, absolutely in shock of what I just witnessed. Probably the scariest moment of my life. If I hadn't got the feeling to put my bike away in a rush, there's a good chance I'd be dead in a ditch today. Not sure if this is paranormal or religious, but I know something had to have warned me. Edit. Within about 6 months of this experience, there were reports of a red truck and a man with a gun matching these men's description spotted at my local high school. Doesn't add much to the story, but tells they probably weren't caught. This story is by you/Beyond Philosophy 1996. The utterly bizarre voicemail my friend got a few years ago. Me and my buddy were sitting around when he got a call from an unknown number. He let it go to voicemail. The message was from a woman who talked in an accent I couldn't identify. She sounded kind of like a character from Fargo, but something about it was just off. She said in these exact words, "Hello? 24, 27. Okay, goodbye. Goodbye, okay, 33, okay, hello, goodbye, 24, okay, bye." Extremely strange, and to this day, we joke about it. This one is by you/Classic Dry 2232. Here's a 7.3 earthquake felt around the world a few hours after happening. For anyone who thought my original post was a worldwide quake, here are multiple pictures. So there are seismograms, and they may take several moments to load. Click on a plot larger. And that's a pretty massive earthquake. Oh my gosh, it was amazing to me, like, how many earthquakes that same time range, like within like 24, 48 hours, were just shaking up a lot of the world. Some of them kind of spread apart quite a ways. Ooh. Victor Schoberger, the anti-gravity water wizard, descending from a lineage of foresters stretching back more than 14 years, Austrian engineer Victor Schoberger, harnessed the power of nature to create numerous inventions. Implosion tech referenced by Randall Carlson in recent Reagan podcast. So this is showing different sort of UFOs. One is a disc shape, one is more of the bell shape. Make sure you go over and check that one out. And this one is a discussion piece. Not sure if I should hit on it, but the true purpose of the Great Pyramid of Giza and the Teotihuacan. The Teotihuacana. So TLDR. Another thread on the ancient pyramid building civilizations. Much of what Egyptology tells us is strictly hearsay, that is, aggressively pushed as undeniable fact. The approach taken to study these structures is all wrong. As someone who has been obsessed with metaphysics for almost a decade, the purpose of many of these structures is blatantly obvious. What I or anyone else believes is completely irrelevant. In the Western world, during the early 20th century, metaphysics and non-physical phenomenon was stigmatized purposely because of people like Tesla. The understanding of metaphysical concepts is the one and only way to understand Tesla's interests in the Great Pyramid of Giza. Some of the earliest Arabic accounts, which is 1730 to 1575 BC of Giza, are in regards to pilgrimages of Sabian star worshippers from the ancient city of Haranthes. Sabians were seen and recorded making sacrifices and performing ceremonies at the Sphinx and pyramids by many Arabic notables. Even the scribe of Saladin witnessed these Sabians gathered in a circle sacrificing white roosters and burning incense in front of the Sphinx. To say that Haran was a center for knowledge is an understatement. Many philosophers and scientists, such as al-Battani, 858-959 AD, who is credited with calculating the distance from the Earth to the Moon, Thabit ibn Qurra, 836-2901 AD, who translated Greek classics and scientific works from or into Arabic and wrote on mathematics and astronomy, and physicist and chemist Jabir, or could it be Habir ibn Havian, 71813 AD, aka Father of Chemistry. And there's a little link there if you guys want to go check it out. Electricity and magnetism is key components of human consciousness and cannot be overstated. All of these cultures didn't just coincidentally mirror almost every aspect of one another despite not coming in contact. Egyptology, specifically, is the most unscientific field of study, full of passionate liars. The Eurocentric perspective has fucked up our understanding of history since the 1800s. Publications like Smithsonian being deliberately misleading about the Diary of Merer, every aspect of history we view through the materialistic viewpoint of our current society. Modern man just can't fathom these ancient non-Westerners. We're more advanced than even we are today in many ways. The ancient Greek and Romans would go to study in Alexandria, yet most of what is attributed to these cultures came from the Egyptian and Babylonians. As I've shown previously, the Greek are not the first to discover magnetism. It was the Mesoamericans with their pot-belly statues. One of the most produced symbols is the Jed Pilar. Ankh presents the circle of Willis in human body. Jed. Now here are dielectrics and insulators. Here's another example that the archaeological approach is incorrect, and it gives you a link for liquid mercury under Temple of Feathered Serpent, Urias, Pharaoh, Petrus, Cobra, Falcon. Environmental legacy of pre-Columbian Maya Mercury and the ancient art of alchemy, such as in the Hermeticism, mercury, sulfur, and salt were the earth's three principal subjects that represent the Trinity in creation. As sulfur is the symbol for the active principle, mercury is the symbol of the passive principle. The symbol of Mercury is the cosmic womb being incubated by the cross of the four elements of creation: earth, air, fire, and water. Mercury is the messenger in astrology as it is in mythology. See Mercury, aka Hermes. It is the planet of day-to-day expression and communication. Mercury's action is to take things apart and put them back together. It is an opportunistic planet, decidedly unemotional and curious. Mercury not only rules communication, it represents coordination. Thought process, ideas, and sensory information from both unconscious and conscious sources all need to be coordinated and understood. Mercury is the link, aka messenger, between the gods, higher principles, and humankind. It is through Mercury that we learn, first, the object, nature, and quality of things. And then the awareness of principles opens our consciousness to the subjective reality. On both octaves, we are parts of Hermetica, appeared in the 4th century Gnostic library found in Nag Hammadi. Another famous tract is the Emerald Tablet of Thoth, which teaches the doctrine as above, so below. Pyramids act as a sort of particular or particle accelerator for energy. Both Maya and ancient Egyptians have similar accounts of the pyramid acting as a capture of the sun's rays to make rain was one of these. Detailed explanation here, Great Pyramid of Giza, the Mayan god of rain and thunder, Chak, would throw his jade axe to the clouds, causing rainfall. He's said to have manifested himself in 4 forms representing the cardinal points. This can be measured. The shape of the pyramid itself, the Great Pyramid, by example, is a sort of architectural, mathematical, physical symbol of a universal metaphysical law carved into a masterpiece of limestone, which works in coordination with the forces of the universe. Study says granite could unleash energy. So here we have a pinpoint. Giza pyramids are specifically designed with a ratio that matches the harmonic relationship between the moon and the earth. This ratio is part of the law of balance, which is found throughout the universe. The mass of the pyramids at Giza is so great that they actually alter time. This theory is similar in concept to being at the event horizon of the black hole, and is why Stephen Hawking referred to the Great Pyramid as the first man-made time theme ratios. Shapes and angles found in architecture are found throughout all scales of life within the universe, from the atomic level to the planetary objects in space. The ratios, shapes, and angles found in the architecture are found throughout all scales of life within the universe, from the atomic level to the planetary objects in space. Bioelectrical and acoustic effects of the resonating stone on the human body inform a new understanding of enigmatic stone artifacts that have puzzled archaeologists since their discovery. The psychoacoustic effects of metal helmets and stone head cradles have been already identified among the ancient Sanskrit artifacts of La Manna, Ecuador, while the Maya are very well known for their stone masks and even stone belts. The use of such heavy granite belts was not in sport as claimed and accepted by many archaeologists, and the animal symbolism carved into the stone belt itself reveals its true purpose. The spirit of the frog was represented in carvings on this granite belt. The frog symbol is closely associated with fertility, while electroacoustic effects of the stone belt under heartbeat booming conditions was used to enhance the fertility of a woman and men participating in the advanced biorhythmic conception and gestation processes within the pyramid chambers. This also closely matches the interpretation of the granite box in the Great Pyramid's upper chamber as an acoustic water birthing system used to synchronize mother and newborn into heartbeat resonance. New translations of ancient Maya documents strongly support this biorhythmic hypothesis, describing the Kundalini energy as the solar power hidden within the DNA of every cell that must be developed by special resonant practices. While very few Maya codices have been preserved, only one of these precious documents has been released to the world by the living line holder, who is capable of providing a direct, authentic translation as the primary source of this information. Maya Fire Codex Pyramid. Along with the symbols, Great Pyramid entrance, there should be absolutely no debate as to whether the pyramid were tombs. But of course, unscientific presumptions are the name of the game here. Modern Egyptology is heavily reliant on the writings and interpretations of Manetho's writings, and researchers make full use of Manetho's references, considering it a very reliable tool in the study of dynasties. However, the same Egyptologists, for some reason, completely overlook the record of pre-dynastic Egypt in Manetho's accounts. Pages after pages of details about a thriving ancient Egypt. This begs the question as to why modern researchers have been adhering to such selective bias towards the history of Egypt. So on this break, we have Grift from, as my roomie Dennis would say, Toronto, Canada, with Let Freedom Ring, as well as Best Life at the end of the music break. We also have Britt Casey with Mr. Cellman. We have Prime Example featuring Carolyn Giles with Dancing Machine, and Miss Tamara Bubble from the Greater Washington area. Or is it New York? Yes, the Greater New York area with Pringles. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
Okay, yo, here's the scoop. You can still be a slave, you're whipped and loop. That's the truth. Got big houses, nice cars. That's real cute, but it doesn't mean nothing. You ain't free to choose. When I say free to choose, no alarm clock, don't gotta hit the snooze. The world is backwards, I'm so confused. They say freedom of speech, but when you speak your mind, they blow a fuse. Just being honest, common sense and common. It's kind of ironic. My freedom, recently bought it. Now I'm a target. If I do the wrong thing or say the wrong thing, come on, man. Let freedom ring. Yeah. United States become divided states. The world is is filled with all kinds of shades, and still resegregate. Parents separate from the children, that's not okay. We should be free to laugh and play. Do it now, before you pass away. Fight for what's right, enough for everybody to get a piece of the pie. Brainwash, social media, full of lies. Go to work, pay bills, then you die. Need a breakaway, guns, get rid of the AKs. Our ancestors paved way since the slave days, but we still hurting. Carry that burden, stop playing victim, beat the system. Love is love, it should be shown. Can't grow unless you leave your comfort zone. This I know, I learned all this from the mentorship. Kids don't know what independent is. Take advantage what your parents did. Go against the grid, you have to. Like going to the bathroom, learn the right songs. Cause of Matthew, liberty like statue. They call now the present, cause it's a gift. It should be cherished, last name fearless, not Harris. All thanks to my parents' parents. Now, love the last name every time that I hear it, cause I know what it represents. Climb the fence, so now I got freedom. Such a beautiful thing. Freedom. Such a wonderful thing. Freedom. Such a beautiful thing. Freedom. Such a wonderful thing.
Text her, put it to your plane, she's the one to get next to. It's not just the way it's all day with affection. I'm hoping this detection is poor reception. Straight to the machine, mean it's like clicking my car, get connected quick. I'm saying,
hey, Mr. Cellular Phone Man, I see there's something wrong with my line. I try to dial my baby's number, but get click every time. Mr. Cellular Phone Man, I see there's something wrong with my line. I try to dial my baby's number, but get click every time.
Why she ain't picking up, yo? I see the phone rings quite a few times before any answer. And I know she's home, well at least till 3. And I know she's home. Now I don't mean to be any bother operator, but could you just check and connect this call for me? Cause I know she's home. Now see, the first time I call, I'm like, maybe she working. And the second time I call, I'm like, little bit hurting. But the third time I call, I'm like, going berserk. And now half a day gone, can't get her on the horn. Usually in the morning, maybe it's something wrong. I mean, she wouldn't take this long to call back. See, we tight like that, she's supposed to be mine. So could you please try it one more time?
Hey, Mr. Cellular Phone Man, I see there's something wrong with my line. I try to dial my baby's number, but get click every time. Mr. Cellular Phone Man, I see there's something wrong with my line. I try to dial my baby's number, but get click every time.
Why she ain't get click every time. Mr. Cellular phone man, I see something wrong with my line. I tried down my baby's number, we get click every time. Why she ain't picking up, yo? Why she ain't picking up, yo?
poppin' like
Pringles in the can. All the money really got me dancing. Pringles in the whip. I be stacking them chips like Pringles in the can. All the money really got me dancing. Big baby money grip. I be stacking them chips. Pringles in the can. All the money really got me dancing. Pringles in the whip. I be stacking them chips like Pringles in the can. All the money really got me dancing. Big baby money grip. I be stacking afraid of a strange beat. New track from the crates, but the same me. Lights on, bills paid, bring the same heat. Couldn't picture me spend the same unless you bring me. Low key, humble brag, never change me. New money coming in, the bank's changing. The quarters to dollars, the checks every hour. That money come in when I sleep or I shower. That's motivation, that dedication. I can see my dreams, I'm already chasing. That bezel clean, and watch me embrace it. I'm a single girl, but already taken like a stick-up kid. They already shaking. No Harlem, Brooklyn, being known for break-ins. Bubble on deck, being known for caking. Stacking and stacking and stacking and saving that move up out the hood money. This that, we been eating good money. This that, really wish you would, homie. This that, see you laughing but broken money. So get up out the hood, homie. Ain't no rentals over here, dummy. And no, they don't really think that we own it. Who we been poppin', we been poppin', look on. Love the money, but the money live a long time it on. Yeah, them bills, so got the money with my own. Grab that, move up out the hood money. This that, we been eating good money. This that, really wish you would, homie. Who we been poppin', we been poppin' like Pringles in the can. All the money really got me dancing. Pringles in the whip. I be stacking them chips like Pringles in the can. All the money really got me dancing. Big baby money grip. I be stacking them chips. Pringles in the can. All the money really got me dancing. Pringles in the whip. I be stacking them chips like Pringles in the can. All the money really got me dancing. Big baby money grip. I be stacking them. I ain't never been afraid of investing. I'm talking more than dice games and I'm scratch offs. Lottery jackpots and hundreds of millions. So who you think they making money on the backs of? Ain't no gambling today. Ain't no gambling with my money that I built up. Got my money strong and my money long. My money song. Not one business but no business. Natural growth, I mean no business. New growth like my natural hair. Yeah, I'm 10 toes down in the show business. Like back up off, man. Ain't no move around dope business. Bring the track up with the tracks out in the booth. Way steady running your mind, talking this and that. But it's that, move up out the hood money. This that, we been eating good money. This that, really wish you would, homie. This that, see you laughing but broken funny. So get up out the hood, homie. Ain't no rentals over here, dummy. And no, they don't really think that we own it. Who we been poppin', look on. Love the money, but the money live a long time it on. Yeah, them bills, so got the money with my own. Grab that, move up out the hood money. This that, we been eating good money. This that, really wish you would, homie. Who we been poppin' like Pringles in the can. All the money really got me dancing. Pringles in the whip. I be stacking them chips like Pringles in the can. All the money really got me dancing. Big baby money grip. I be stacking them chips.
Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. Do you and live your best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. Where you from? Who you with? Are you unplugged? Are you equipped? I do my thing, stay legit. In this world, no one's innocent. VIP, get bottles. One snap of my fingertips. See these haters like blah blah blah, blah 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 blah, talking gibberish. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. Do you and live your best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. Rolling and rolling and rolling SUV. Rolling and rolling and rolling with my homies. Rolling and rolling and rolling SUV. Rolling and rolling and rolling with my homies. I'm going to live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm going to live my best life. Do you live your best life? Do you live your best life? Do you live your best life? I'm going to live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm going to live my best life. Do you live your best life? Do you live your best life? Do you live your best life? I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. Do you and live your best life. Don't care if my head ain't right.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us this evening on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Thank you so much for joining us and hanging out as we actually partially interviewed Mr. Mike Cardenas. He pronounces it differently. So, yes, I need to get back with him on that pronunciation. But he was giving us a little peek into his childhood and the different paranormal experiences that he had been through, and that was pretty interesting. But since we've gone from Mike during the first 30 or so minutes of the show, we've gone to High Strangeness on Reddit. So just go to Reddit, look up High Strangeness, and we've been reading some different stories. It's been pretty intriguing. So this one is by user free UFC. So it's u/free UFC. Mediterranean cruise ship. I have had a few paranormal encounters, but this was scariest. Many years ago, we went on a cruise ship, Thompson Density of the Seas, under a different name now, over the Mediterranean Sea in the summer. My wife and daughter had one room, and my son, approximately 6 years old, and I were in another. One night I woke at 3 a.m. exactly to hear the wardrobe door open, which is strange as these doors have magnets on them. So they don't swing open even in harsh weather, which it was not, and the Med at the time of year was calm as small lake. Anyways, I jumped up to see a guy looking in the wardrobe. I shouted something I can't recall, and he looked at me and walked into the wardrobe. At this point, I did not think it was a ghost, but someone in my room. I was worried about my son's safety at this point. We had internal rooms and are quite small. In fact, I would say 12 feet by 6 feet, so I did not have far to go to engage the intruder. It would have taken approximately 1 second to move from my bed to the wardrobe. I apprehensively looked in the wardrobe to see if he was in, and he was not. Then I looked at the adjacent area, which at this point was the only other realistic exit for him. Again, nothing. At this point, I am processing what had just happened and attempting to come to another rational conclusion. And I was struggling as the only other possible way for him to exit was to leave through the room door, but for the main area door to open, the wardrobe would have needed to be closed, and the main door was locked still. As you could imagine, I did not sleep that night. I sat up in bed with the light on. To add to the craziness, approximately 1 hour later, my son sat up in bed, exorcist style, and said, "You don't care about the people on the ship, do ya?" and went back to sleep as if nothing had happened. This really freaked me out. Incidentally, the visitor, or ghost, looked like Tom Petty in an old naval costume. And this one is by you/is my street name. Finding items in places already searched? I remember as children when we couldn't find a specific item we loved or needed. every corner of the house searched. The adults in the family would happily say, "My dear, just give it a rest. Things that are lost will return later," in a knowing voice. In Spanish, though, I'm assuming this is a common thing said in Latino households. And sure enough, the said item would be found a couple hours later. It was always such a relief. It was as if they were being hidden, then returned just for laughs by fairies or spirits. These days, anytime I lose something, I never freak out and give it time. Then it's easily found. Well, I have said this repeatedly, and also I have dealt with this. I blame it on the little people. And they're about, I'd say 12 to 15 inches tall, depending on their age or, genetics or whatnot. But they like to take your keys, your lighter, your cigarettes, your earrings, your socks. You're missing that one sock. You put both of them in the laundry, and now only one is there. There's different things that they do take possession of, but yeah, pretty intriguing. Could be the little people. So this one is by user u/ground zero _ It looks like maybe 2 or 3 times _. My friend recently passed away. However, my friend who had recently passed away has been appearing in my dreams almost every night since she died. Whether she is standing right in front of me or there have been a few where the dream was in text form. She always says the exact same thing. She will repeat this sentence over and over again. "I'm still here." She says nothing else but that, and I am always the only one who can talk to her during these dreams. No one else in the dreams can see or speak to her. I'm interested in everyone here's take on these occurrences. So for me, you have meditation, you have different realms. The sleep realm is somewhat like this. This is a different realm for you. And according to my life, since I was about 6 years old, my mom passed when I was 5, almost 6. I've seen her twice. My dad passed about, I would say 18, but I'm going to round it up to 19 these days. Almost 19 years ago, he passed away, and I've seen him twice. So even though you think about these people a lot, you think, oh, this takes up a lot of my thoughts during the day. Maybe I'll dream about this person. It doesn't happen like that. I believe this is a realm where they can come to you in your dreams and get across the message to you, whether it is through voice, which was my first dream, seeing and hearing her. And then the second time I saw my mom, she just smiled at me so I could see her and just feel her. Just that she was happy to see me, and it was pretty emotional. You would think you could dream about your lost loved ones anytime, but you can't because it's different. I don't know, I can't. I'm not going to say you, I'm not going to put that on you, but pretty intriguing. This one is under High Strangeness on Reddit. u/Chris_DC9. Did I hear voices from hell or another dimension? Still spooked to this day. So around 15 years ago, I was laying on my bed watching TV and talking to my girlfriend on the phone. Must have been around 8 p.m. or so. All of a sudden, my TV displays static lines and white noise, and a moment later, I hear some weird glitching noises on my phone. I promptly say hello a few times, feeling weirded out, only to suddenly hear dozens of voices yelling, screaming, almost as if in agony and pain and torture. Also, some voices were saying, "Help me." This went on for about 20 seconds until I hung up as I felt chills and freaked out. It couldn't have been my girlfriend playing a prank, as she was out and wouldn't know how to do an elaborate prank like this. The voices sounded way too real and not some kind of recording. The fact that my TV went static at the same time is odd too. Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember or if you were listening earlier, but it was about 5 or so minutes after I got off the phone with Mike, and then all of a sudden my computer just did this white noise like at me, and I looked over like, what the heck? My hands up, like in protest and exclamation of surprised horror. What the heck is going on here? And then it quit, and I didn't have any other issues, so that was very strange to me. Very strange indeed. So this is by U/Martian XASHA12. In 1972, during the Vietnam War, several American troops witnessed gray aliens placing human corpses in containers. UFO researcher Leonard H. Stringfield wrote in his book UFO Crash Retrievals. I'm wondering if this is... Yes, join. A video? I'm not sure. Let me see what happens. Oh, it's an article. U.S. soldiers confronted gray aliens during Vietnam War, killed one. And this is by Vicky Verma, by How and Wise. UFO researcher Leonard H. Stringfield was a prominent figure in the history of ufology, who investigated and published his research on UFO crash retrievals. In his UFO crash retrieval series, he published 7 reports that contained staggering stories of crashed flying saucers. Stringfield noted an incredible event about the so-called gray aliens in his book UFO Crash Retrievals, The Inner Sanctum 6, that supposedly happened in 1972. During the Vietnam War, a U.S. troop was sent to an area close to the Cambodian-North Vietnamese border where they engaged in combat with aliens. In 1972, when the Vietnam War was still going on, a special team of U.S. soldiers was sent to Tong Li Sap, Cambodia, which is situated in Southeast Asia. The operation was essential to destroy a facility in North Vietnam which, as it was possible to establish by the U.S. intelligence, was secretly overhearing top-secret conversations of the U.S. Army in South Vietnam. The SWAT team set up camp overnight, preparing to assault the North Vietnamese team at dawn. In the early morning, the special forces sneaked up to the Vietnamese base, but what they saw were shocked and frightened them. As the team got closer to the location of the North Vietnamese unit, they suddenly discovered that there was a large spherical spacecraft, which stood on 3 strong metal supports. The craft suddenly began to hum, causing instant sickness, dizziness, and disorientation in the U.S. military. The group leader was about to issue a command to retreat when a group of strange-looking humanoid creatures appeared. The U.S. troops were barely frightened after seeing those creatures, but what they were doing scared the hell out of them. As per the description given by the soldiers, it can be assumed that they were gray aliens. The aliens were handling a large pile of various parts of human bodies and placed them in large containers: arms, legs, torso, heads. This horrible list went on and on. Some were the remains of white people, others were black, and others looked Vietnamese. What they saw sobered and angered the special forces, and the commander gave the order to open fire. The bullets hit the creatures, but they did not do any harm except for one who was killed by a shot in the head. Just like zombies, always shoot for the head. Several commandos were killed, while others were seriously affected by the effects of the unknown weapons. The aliens quickly retreated into the ship and rushed into the sky. Soon, another CIA team appeared at the scene, and one survivor told them that they were all given some kind of mind-altering drugs to make them forget about this incredible fight, and it worked, at least for a while. However, in the late 1980s, 2 members of the Special Forces team who took part in the battle began to have nightmarish memories of those events of April 1972, which prompted one of them to contact many other Special Forces who were found and who were still alive. 2 had already died, 3 were not found at all, but the rest were able to meet in August 1988 and decided that this story should be told. They turned to a researcher and UFOologist, Leonard Stringfield, and he published their story in his 1991 book, UFO Crash Retrievals, The Inter Sanctum 5. Evidence collected by Stringfield and published in his monograph, The UFO Crash Retrieval Syndrome Status Report 2, MUFON 1980, if true, is far beyond the compelling, as it boggles the mind. In this status report, Stringfield offers a collective summary of comments by various anonymous medical examiners who supposedly examined deceased alien bodies retrieved from crashes between 1947 and 1980. The following tentative morphology refers to an alleged alien humanoid measuring 3.5 to 4.5 feet tall and weighing 40 pounds. Forget Fox TV's Alien Autopsy. This might be the real thing. So his alleged alien autopsy report was supported by Dr. Barry Taff, who holds a doctorate in psychophysiology with a minor in biomedical engineering. He is a world-renowned parapsychologist who worked out of UCLA's former parapsychology laboratory from 1965 through 1978 as a research associate. According to Dr. Barry Taff, these are some of the notes directly from medical examiners. 2 round eyes without pupils. Under heavy brow bridge, eyes described variously as large, almond-shaped, elongated, sunken, or deep-set, far apart, slightly slanted, appearing oriental or mongoloid. By human standards, the head is large in relation to the limbs and torso. It has been compared with a 5-month-old human fetus, no earlobes or protrusive flesh extending beyond apertures on each side of the nose. And that markage is vague. 2 snares are indicated with only slight protrudence. Mouth indicated as a small slit without lips opening into a small cavity and appears not to function as a means of communication or as an orifice for food ingestion. Neck is described as being thin and in some instances not visible because of the garment on that section of the body. Most observers describe the head of the humanoid alien as hairless. One source said that the pate showed a slight fuzz. Bodies are described as hairless. The torso is generally described as small and thin. In most instances, the body was observed wearing a flexible metallic garment. Arms are described as long, thin, and reaching down to the knee section. One type of hand consists of 4 fingers and no thumb. 2 of the fingers appear longer. Oh no, where did it go? Than the others. Some observers have seen fingernails, others none. A slight webbing effect between fingers was noted by 3 authoritative observers. Other reports indicate types of hands with both less and more than 4 fingers. Legs are reported as short and thin. Feet of one type are described as toeless. Most observers describe feet as covered. One said alien foot looked like an orangutan's. Skin is not described as green. Some claim beige, tan, brown, or gray with a tannish or pinkish cast. One said it looked almost bluish-gray under the deep freeze light. In 2 instances, the bodies were charred dark brown in the wake of an alleged crash. Skin texture is described as scaly or reptilian and as stretchable, elastic, or mobile over smooth muscle or skeletal tissues. No striatic muscle, no perspiration, no body odor, no teeth, no apparent reproductive organs, no genitalia, and absence of sexual organs suggests that they were perhaps atrophied by evolution or evolutionary degeneration, or the possibilities that some aliens, and perhaps all, do not produce like human beings, or that cadavers studied may have originated through cloning or other artificial means. To most observers, the humanoids appear to be formed out of a mold, sharing identical facial characteristics rather than individuality displayed by humans. Brain and its capacity unknown, colorless liquid present in body without red cells, alien, circulation not oxygen carrying, no lymphocytes, no food or water intake known. In one known retrieval, witness noticed that no food was aboard. Absence of digestive system, gastrointestinal tract, alimentary canal, and rectal area. More than one humanoid type, lifespan unknown, descriptive types of alien anatomy may be nor more diverse than those known among Earth's Homo sapiens. Other recovered alien types or other grotesque configurations or human are unknown at this time. Origins also unknown. Stringfield also came in contact with a physician who in the early 1950s allegedly performed an autopsy on an EBE. The witness described the body as follows. Size. The specimen was observed and was 4 feet 3 3/8 inches tall. I cannot remember the weight. It has been so long and my files do not indicate the weight. I recall the length well because we had a disagreement and everyone took their turn measuring. Head. The head was pear-shaped in appearance and oversized by human standards for the body. The eyes were mongoloid in appearance. The ends of the eyes furthest from the navel cavity slanted upwards at about a 10-degree angle. There seemed to be no visible eyelids, only what seemed like a fold. The nose consisted of a small, fold-like protrusion above the nasal orifices. The mouth seemed to be a wrinkle-like fold. There were no human lips as such, just a slit that opened into an oral cavity about 2 inches deep. A membrane along the rear of the cavity separated it from what would be the digestive tract. The tongue seemed to be atrophied into almost a membrane. No teeth were observed. X-rays revealed a maxilla and mandible as well as a cranial bone structure. The outer earlobes didn't exist. The auditory orifices present were similar to our similar middle ear and inner ear canals. The head contained no hair follicles, and the skin seemed grayish in color and seemed mobile when stretched. So there's different references, and I believe that's the end of the story. That's pretty creepy. I haven't seen aliens, but I've seen their craft. Internal struggle believing experiencers IRL and online. This is by you, Dritz Do. I've been fascinated with this topic for many years, listening to Coast in the 90s as a kid, reading tons of books, lots of podcasts. I'm aware there's a high strangeness element involved in the phenomenon. The problem I'm having is, if I'm being honest, I just don't believe 90% of the people who claim that they have had an experience. I really want to believe them. When I talk about my interest in the phenomenon to a group of people, there is inevitably like 3 people that have the most outlandish stories. It's to the point where I don't blame non-believers for thinking people that believe in the phenomenon are a bunch of crackpots. So, I'm left with a couple of thoughts. Either this phenomenon is affecting a much larger percentage of people than I previously thought, or some percent of people like to make shit up for a good story. Anyone else feel that tall tales could be negatively impacting the movement? Or am I just kicking it with a bunch of open-minded liars and my experience with this as an outlier? This one is on Reddit, High Strangeness, under u/adventurous-ear 9433. Operation High Jump, Germans in Antarctica. There's no denying that there is much more to the U.S. Navy Operation High Jump, a fantastic documentary, Secrets of Antarctica, that gives a lot of information withheld from the public, including an interesting NASA Lima photo of Antarctica. It's pretty safe to throw the bullshit flag on High Jump's official story. For starters, stay far away from the internationally misleading Wikipedia. In the late 1930s, Dr. Ernest Schaefer goes with his occult group to Tibet in the search of ancient advanced technology. We know that the Nazi began to create functioning flying saucers by 1939. CIA Doc Nazi Hannibal, just before the end of World War II. 2 German provision U-boats, U-530 and U-977, were launched from a port on the Baltic Sea following a steady stream of supplies that was carried out throughout the closing stages of the war. Reportedly, they took with them members of the anti-gravity disk research and development teams carrying notes, drawing, and designs for German flying saucers. So, in 1938, the Germans claimed the new Schwabe-Nazi territory in Antarctica, which infuriates President FDR. He creates the U.S. Antarctica Service in 1939, appointing Adam Byrd, which is ADM here, Adam Byrd as head. Byrd assembled 2 ships, the Bear of Oakland from Bay 2 and the USS North Star. He also took 2 airplanes, the Condor from Bay 2 and the Beechcraft. They established 2 bases, a west base on the Ross Ice Shelf bases and called Little America 3 and an east base on Stonington Island on the Palmer Peninsula. Just 2 ships and 2 planes. With 4,700 plus personal Operation High Jump is basically an invasion of the Antarctic, which consists of 3 naval battle groups which departed Norfolk, Virginia on the 2nd of December 1946. They were led by Admiral Richard E. Byrd's command ship, the icebreaker Northwind, and consisted of the catapult ship Pine Island, the destroyer, Brownson, the aircraft carrier, Philippine Sea, the U.S. submarine, Senate, 2 support vessels, Yankee and Merrick, and 2 tankers consisted in Kepikin, the destroyer, Henderson, and a floatplane ship, Kurituk. A British-Norwegian force and a Russian force, and I believe some Australian and Canadian forces were also involved, and there were some ships like the USS Pine Island later removed from Navy records. While aviation contributes to the success of the U.S. effort in Antarctica, this contribution has not been without significant losses. Adam Byrd allegedly claimed he knew there had been a lot of aircraft and rocket shoot-downs, but did not realize the situation was as serious as the documentary presented it. Peter J. Anderson of the NSF Polar Programs has written in U.S. Aircraft Losses in Antarctica since the beginning of Operation High Jump in 1946, 40 U.S. scientists and support personnel have died in Antarctica. 29 of them died in aircraft accidents. In all, 20 helicopters and 30 fixed-wing airplanes have been destroyed while flying in support of U.S. Antarctic programs. And that was from the Adam Byrd Secret Diary. So UFO in Antarctica, there's an HTTPS if you guys want to check it out. NASA astronaut Clark McClelland claims some of the German engineers and technicians I met at KSC were all aware that a few of the German SS were working at Cape Canaveral and the Kennedy Space Center that arrived with Project Paperclip with Dr. von Braun in 1946. These SS were as feared at KSC as they were in the German army during World War II. And there's a photo there as well. Honestly, I think the 1952 DC flyover was a warning from whomever Adam Byrd encountered in Antarctica. The Nazis were allowed to influence every major industry and began running the same MK Ultra, Montauk-type projects in America while holding hands with the CIA. Adam Byrd went and got his ass whipped, and that much is obvious. March 5th, 1947, the El Mercurio newspaper of Santiago, Chile, had a headline article on board the Mount Olympus on the high seas, which quoted Byrd in an interview with Lee Van Atta. Adam Byrd declared today that it was imperative for the United States to initiate immediate defense measures against hostile regions. Furthermore, Byrd stated that he didn't want to frighten anyone unduly, but that it was a bitter reality that in case of a new war, the continental United States would be attacked by flying objects which could fly from pole to pole at incredible speeds. Interestingly, not only before he made these comments, the Admiral had recommended defense bases at the North Pole. These were not isolated remarks. Admiral Byrd later repeated that each of these points of view, resulting from the described as his personal knowledge, gathered both at the North and South Poles. Before a news conference held for International News Service, he was hospitalized and was not allowed to hold any more press conferences. Still, in March 1955, he was placed in charge of Operation Deep Freeze, which was part of the International Geophysical Year 1957 to 1958 exploration of Antarctica. Maybe the flyover and the following Antarctica expeditions lead to the Antarctica Treaty, and that's https://www.nsf.gov/geo/op, that's OPP/Antarct, which is ANTARCT/ANTTRTY.JSP. Very interesting. So I don't know if I should play this one or not. It's on High Strangeness. It's under U/that life That life supply. REM pod, paranormal activity in the vault. So REM pod to me is pretty annoying. I didn't think I'll do that one. See, no, don't think I can get through that one. And that was a Bigfoot one. I would have loved to do that one. Let's do this one. It's by U/Willobo, WILOBO. I once heard a disembodied voice. Okay, this may not be too high up on the strangeness scale, but it did happen. One Saturday afternoon, 3 or 4 p.m. about 17 years ago, I sat on the front door steps of our apartment waiting on my girlfriend to go out. It was a little place at the back of the owner's house. Entrance through the spacious open garage, so quiet. Nobody around in sight. Free smartphone days, so I just stared at the street outside. After just a short while, there alone, totally relaxed and silent, I suddenly hear a raspy old woman's voice whisper, slowly, right in my ear from behind, "Young man." Needless to say, I jumped and turned and looked all over. All still eerily quiet. Never again heard anything, but that freaked me out a lot at that time. I can never forget and am convinced we share this space with unseen spirits. So this one is by U/Ardo_official. Sheldrake's morphic resonance theory is but one way to start understanding different field theories, which are becoming themes in research ranging from quantum physics to altered states of consciousness. This advent could help us develop a scientific framework for the concept of the soul. So there is a video, and let's see what happens here. Hopefully this works. Oh.
For example, it leads to quite striking predictions. If rats learn a new trick here in London, then rats all around the world should be able to learn the same trick because the rats have learned it here. The more that learn it, the easier it should get everywhere else. And there's already evidence that this actually happens from studies of rats in laboratories. When lots of rats have learned something, other rats all around the world find it easier to learn.
To this video, I'm gonna be talking about Rupert Sheldrake's morphic resonance theory. This theory suggests that everything in our reality has a field of information or all what matter is real.
Sorry, try and do the big screen thing again. And it's taking me to the end. Oh, good lord. There we go.
Rupert Sheldrake and his theory. This was written in 2020. Chad Woodford. This is a medium. This is more like a mainstream blog with where all these paranormal things are. I made some videos about some other articles here having to do with psychedelic experiences and alien phenomenon and so on and so forth. This is nothing scientific. Sometimes there's science involved in it. This video is going to go on pragmatic philosophy because the theory of morphic fields is a theory. It is not a scientific proposition. It is scientific, but there is no actual research, no experiments done on this. This is more like an understanding. However, some of the things that I'm going to mention throughout the article are going to lead to some other theories which do have published research, which do have articles on them. And I'm going to share the link to the videos. You don't have to watch my video. You can go straight to the description and you will find the articles and the actual published research in all of the videos on the playlist ongoing research in this channel. Alright, so in this post I'm going to summarize the theory of morphic fields. Rupert Sheldrake, the book is Presence of the Past, and it so nicely ties together a few loose ends in modern science, like where the mind can be located and how genes work. We don't know where all of this. I keep making the same argument over and over and over. The big problem of qualia. What is the mind? Where exactly? We open the brain. We don't see a mental image. So where is this mental image? I talked about a metaphysical place of existence where all of this is. There are different theories. Rupert Sheldrake's idea is this of morphic resonance. Now, just as a basic introduction to why morphic resonance exists, why some of these theories are coming together, is because as we go and delve into the research on quantum physics, the main thing about quantum physics, the main problem is that scientists do not know what intelligence is behind forms, behind matter, what creates a tree and what creates a butterfly and what creates a human hand. What is the intelligence behind all of this? And we go into the argument of intelligent design. Where does all of this come from? So when they were looking, what exactly was light? What is light? Is light solid? Is light a wave? What's going on with the whole thing of light? They realized that light is what we want it to be whenever we want it to be. When you look at it, it becomes a thing. When you don't look at it, it's a wave. So what exactly is the intelligence? This is why I've been going on and on and on in quantum physics, saying why do these particles choose? Who is choosing? What is choosing? So then you add all of these theories that consciousness is behind all of this. But what exactly is consciousness? Is it a field? Is it an intelligence? Is it us? Does it come from outside? We are delving into all of these theories, and with some of the theories that I'm going to be posting in the future, everything is coming together. So like he says here, he's tying these loose ends in modern science, and he goes on to say, well, simultaneously embodying the cosmology and wisdom of ancient yoga. Now he's calling ancient yoga, and he talks about some of the yoga traditions and some of the ideas. Basically, instead of ancient yoga, just Eastern philosophy as a whole, as a perennial idea. He talks about some of these things below. But when you talk about Eastern philosophy as well, it's very easily tied to most ancient traditions, to most ancient ideas. As I said, what some people were calling the Bill of Maya, this all-encompassing illusion, this all-encompassing thing, can be very well assimilated to the idea of a spirit which is everywhere, which goes to mountains and so on and so forth. This spirit that is everywhere and all around, and it's always with us until the day before we exist and after we exist. So all these ancient ideas start translating into what seems to be some sort of a grid, some sort of a network.
Well, on that note, you guys, we are at the end of our time, but if you want to check it out, go to High Strangeness, and this was under You Holy shit, it's not letting me open it up now. U/Ardo_official. And yeah, you can listen to the rest of that video. But thank you guys so much once again for listening to me on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you to all of our friends on We Are Paradox Media's KPNL Radio, Facebook, Twitter, iHeartRadio, and wherever else beyond the Omniverse that you are listening tonight. I had a wonderful time this evening, and I can't wait to do it again. Tomorrow night we have story time with me, TessaTNT, and we'll be doing ghost stories after that. If you like the high strangeness, we might do that, but I'm pretty sure we'll go to ghost stories. Don't forget, we are all in this together. Together, we can make the world a little better, and together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there is no us. If you'd like to join us on the Skype after party, look me up and send me a contact request at live:"tessa.n.thomas30 or give us a jingle jangle at 970-335-9596 by cell phone. Until next time, nighty night, love and light. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I will see you back here tomorrow night, same time, same crazy place. Mwah.